You know what? One thing I changed is be not getting caught. My role models were armed robbers. My role models were people that were selling gear off the back of a lorry. As long as I had money, I could get in there. I can also buy guns. They said it was a real Ocean's 11 heist. That's what the papers and the radio and the TV did at that time. Can we shut down 3 countries, as far as I can remember? You know, prison is not a place where you get rehabilitated. I work with the Colombians. I work with the mafia.
Kind of like Robin Hood.
You know what?
Robbing from the drug dealers and then giving it back to the drug dealers.
So the whole idea of being a criminal is to do it so nonchalantly that no one actually looks at you. I liked working 1 day a week and getting a year's money.
He cut one of his balls off.
He cut his balls off.
And threw it at the screw.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the way the prison's designed, it sets you up to fail. What happened, I tried to escape from Pentonville. I went out on an ID parade, ended up smashing a copper. It was only when I started talking to a psychologist that I realised how f***ed up my thinking was. I learned how to not act on my impulse. My first impulse was kill him. You could be home tonight. We'll let you out. All we want is the motherboards, we want the fucking data, and we want the cunts who fucking set it up. And I said, no, I can't do that. See you later. And that was it.
Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast, and this episode is proudly brought to you by Betovo. Before we get stuck into this week's episode, we're going to give a big shout out to our sponsors.
This season's podcast is brought to you by Superstar Speakers Events. They are the UK's #1 destination for exclusive live experiences. These guys don't just put on events, they deliver unforgettable nights with some of the biggest names in sports, entertainment and beyond. From jaw-dropping Q&A sessions to meet and greets and unmissable stage interviews, they bring you face-to-face with the icons you love. Whether it's football legends spilling the secrets of the beautiful game or entertainment stars sharing untold stories, Superstar Speakers knows how to create memories that last a lifetime. And here's the big news. I'll be teaming up with them for an evening with Terry Stone, a live tour you won't want to miss. Head over to superstarspeakers.co.uk for dates, details and tickets. Massive thanks to Superstar Speakers for supporting our podcast. Please go check out their up-and-coming events now and book yourself a night to remember. Click on the link below and get involved. Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast. My name's Terry Stone, aka The Podfather. Today we've got a very special guest. He's the godfather of robbing places. I mean, if you've seen Ocean's 11, this guy is like Ocean's 11 on steroids. So please welcome Mr. Terry Ellis. Way!
Nice to be here, Tel. Nice to be here, bro.
Good to meet you, Tel. Another Terry?
Yeah.
We got the same hairdresser.
Same music, mate. Same waistline. You're right.
So you know, I've obviously come across your story and obviously seen all the books you've written, and you've obviously had like a crazy life.
It's been pretty active over the last 20 or so years, and it's more so in the last 6 years since I came out of prison. I started writing quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I've written, I think, 8 books now about that life, and they've been received really well. You know, one of them's a bestseller, and one of them's just been made into a film, which is really why I'm here today.
Right,
you know, to just tell people about that bit of work. They said it was a real Ocean's 11 heist. That's what the papers and the radio and the TV did at that time.
I mean, you really are an artiste of crime, aren't you, really? You know, like if you was a painter, you'd be, would you be Van Gogh or would you be Damien Hirst?
Do you know what? I think for us, we just wanted to take the art of robbery to the next level, which meant basically not hurting anybody, not using any gratuitous violence, any guns, just using our intellect, basically. Yeah. But to do that, I needed a team of like-minded guys. So, and I was quite fortunate enough. I came from that world,
right.
and I knew lots of robbers who were very good at their game. And it's about really putting a team together to come and do Verizon.
Amazing. So that was the big one. But before we get into that, I think we have to like go all the way back to obviously where you was born, where you grew up, and a little bit about what it was like growing up with Terry Ellis.
Yeah, I was born in Camden town. I love Camden. It's very vibrant. We've got one of the biggest markets in England now, and it's very cosmopolitan. So you had people coming from all around the world to this market, which then gave me an opportunity to actually meet lots of people and also earn money, because people who are visiting different countries were pretty lax about, where they kept their money.
Right.
So, so I used to go down as a really young kid, 8 or 9 years old, and I used to go through the markets, and I could walk in one end and come out with 200 or 300 quid at the other end. And that's how easy it was in them days for me. And Camden was Camden and King's Cross was also full of warehouses. Right. And it was all on the canal. So I spent my childhood really just breaking into warehouses and also figuring out ways of getting in without getting caught, because most of the warehouses where I live, they all had security guards. So we used to just watch them, and we could see where they had their tea, where they walked around. So what we would do, we would go in through the roofs. We'd take tiles off. We'd go through the roofs, and instead of going through the doors and opening, turning the alarms off, we would cut the doors in half. We were just really crazy kids that really wanted to enjoy our life, but also earn money at the same time.
Was it just an obvious thing, like when you break in somewhere, to go through the roof, or what was it, or was it literally knowledge that was handed down? So
I think for me, I was always had a predisposition towards crime growing up, because I always acted on a completely different level from most people, and because I always saw crime as an opportunity just to challenge myself.
So when people at school said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" "I want to be a gangster."
When I actually was at school, I actually wanted to go in the army.
Right.
And unfortunately, I got involved in a few things as I got to the age of being taken into the army, and my 4 pals actually. They went in, and as I got there, I was arrested for a load of armed robberies. Right. So I spent 4 years in prison, and they went into the army. So yeah, I missed that boat, and maybe my life, because I met lots of people in the army. I met lots of people over the years, and they said that most of the best soldiers really are like me, people that just use their wits, and most bad people make good soldiers apparently.
Right. Okay.
So I missed an opportunity, but I'm glad I did, because my at that time it was about going to Northern Ireland. Yeah. All my pals went to Northern Ireland, and it did ruin them. They came back traumatized. They drank, and they had mental health problems over the years. So in retrospect, going into the criminal lifestyle when I did probably saved my life.
And when you was talking about the armed robberies, was it like post office vans or security court vans?
Yeah, we were just doing like banks, security, bits and pieces when we were younger.
And talk me through that, like, you go, we're going to go and pop that van, or we're going to pop the bank. I think what it is it's just really a case of just looking at something in a way that most people don't look at it. Right. I could look at a place. I'll give you just one instance. I remember looking at a post office, and I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning before it opened. And that's the best time to actually look at things, because you see it from start to finish. And I can remember this guy pulling up in a Volvo and going in the back door. And from where I could see that he left the back door open. He then took stuff out of his Volvo, and then went in, and then came out and drove the car around the corner, but left the door open, the back door. And then from the front, all the people were queuing up. And I thought, that'd be a little good move. I think I was only, about 15 then, 15, 16. And I then said, well, let's go and do it. Let's have a crack at it. So we got some jackets, big jackets to make ourselves look big. I was quite big anyway. And I remember going down there, and I said to my mates, if you go in the car, you have the car, you wait over there, and I'll go in and I'll have this f***er over. And I can remember the guy coming back, and he walked in there, and I was actually standing near the bins, and just tucked in there. And he walked in, I just walked in behind him, put him on the deck. I cuffed him up. And I just took the keys off him to the safe, because in them days you had cages, so you go in the cage, and I went in the cage. I could see all the people queuing up outside, and your adrenaline's flowing. You're larger than life, and it's a feeling. You either like it or you don't, and I liked it. And I remember just putting the keys in the safe and thinking, the time lock goes off in a few minutes, but I don't really stay in here for 5 more minutes. So I pulled it off. The alarm went off. Everyone started looking in the window and banging on the windows, and I opened the safe up and put everything in. Why didn't you just wait? Or was you know what? My mates were around the corner in the car. They're only young. We're only young. It was only I was 16 then, if that, and they were in their 20s. They were older than me. But I think it's just being impatient as a young kid. But I learned from that. I learned maybe going forward I'd slow it down, and we did. We slowed things down. We watched things a little bit more. What was your first windfall? What was?
I think it was about $4.5 if that.
Which doesn't sound like money, but back then, when was that? In the 80s?
If you think 100 quid was a week's wages for most people. Right. So $3.5 grand. I can remember going to the Les Elites. in Finchley Road is a low profile. All the clubs, that back then, that only with guys could get in there who were at it. Right. So if you were a robber, my dad was well connected. So I could go in any of these places, the tunnel, low profile, all these places, and I could go in there as a young man, as long as I had money. I could get in there. I could drink to my heart's content, but I can also buy guns.
Right.
I could buy guns, shotguns, sawn-offs, you name it, I could buy. And basically, I could buy them over the counter. It's like going to Safeways or something, So, but from a very young age, right. It just seemed normal because everybody in my area was at it. So, we never had role models as far as like people going to work every day. My role models were armed robbers. My role models were people that were selling gear off the back of a lorry, were drug dealers, whatever, whether it's clothes, jeans, whatever. When I look back at that time, as I said, I was probably predisposed to actually doing things, and I used to get excitement out of doing things that no one else would do. And I can always remember as a really young kid, I think I was only about 9 then, I used to watch the trains go through King's Cross. And my mate came up, and he said, look, I've been watching these fucking trains till, and they've all got cars, like there's millions of cars on them, and they're about fucking 3 miles long. In our day, they look really long, the trains. And they slow down at King's Cross, we could jump on them. So I said, let's have a look at it. So we looked at it, and I said, yeah, we can get on. We get up to the bridge, and we could jump off onto them. And what we do, we take loads of black bags of us, and we take all the car radios out. So what we did, we went for every single car, and just taking the radios out and dropping them on the bags going along. So we went about 3 or 4 miles out down the track, and then jumped off. And to me that was really exciting, because we had planned it, we'd done it, and I think that's where I got my sort of buzz for actually, for criminality.
Your entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah, because most of the people I knew, they were working on, I think I came from an area where people never had really good educations. I was dyslexic, I was expelled from school, so they didn't know how to treat us then. So
it was funny though, Tel, like talking to you sound fucking super smart. When you meet people, you talk to them, and if you've come from a council estate, you haven't had a particularly good education, you're not really that, but you sound to me like, well,
I think I as a young kid, I was well read. My dad used to make me read all the time. I used to give me books, and I used to read all the time. So I was quite up to date with things, and I think the jobs that I actually got was all about conning people.
Right.
I started on the jump ups at a very young age.
Can you explain to the audience what
the jump ups is? What we would do.
It's not jumping up and down. It's not basketball.
So what we'd do, we'd follow vans and lorries around London, and we'd watch them. And when they'd done the delivery, we would take all the stuff off the back, computers.
But when they were delivering something?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I was watching, and then we got to the stage where we thought, we're only nicking like 500 or 600 quid a morning, and why don't we take the whole f***ing thing? So what we did, we started using slide hammers for the lorries and everything else. And then we were doing sign-ups. So what we'd do, we'd follow a van into London, or we'd see the guy or the lorry of 3 tonner or whatever, 7.5 tonner, and we'd see that he was lost, and we'd go, look, where you going, mate? One of us would get on there, and we'd look at his manifest. He'd go, I'm going to so shouts it, and we'd see what he's got on. And normally the lorries we used to follow was cigarettes, booze, computers, and everything else, clothes, jeans, everything else. So we'd say, where you going? And he'd go, oh yeah, you want to go straight down there? I'm all the way over there, and it would send him the wrong way. Then we would go to the place where he's supposed to deliver. And just as he pulled up, we would be coming out in overalls. And we would go like, we're going for breakfast now, mate. You've got to hang about for an hour until we come back. You're f***ing late. And he'd go, oh, mate, I've got another delivery. And he'd be all over the gap. And say, right, listen, Steve, Tony, Paul, unload him now over there and let him get on his f***ing way. It's called a sign-up. You'd sign him up. So you'd get all his stuff on the floor. You'd sign him up. Then all of a sudden he would pull off, and then we'd pull our vans up and we'd load it all up. So we started getting really good at it. So we started, we're using ruses. So we'd go as, we'd have different uniforms. So we'd have firemen's uniforms, just not the actual uniforms with the big puffy ones, but all the London Fire Brigade. Right. We'd have ups. We'd have.
Where'd you get these from? Do you have to manufacture them, or did you?
If a van pulls up and they got all their gear in there, we just take it. Right. So we had an assortment of all the stuff. So we actually got really good. Just blending in. So when I went on a van, I would dress with the same stuff as that van or that lorry. So anyone looking from the outside. See, the whole idea of being a criminal is to do it so nonchalantly that no one actually looks at you. and it's about owning that process. So what happens?
It's like becoming an actor.
It's about becoming an actor. So you're acting most of the time. So you're you know. So what it is there's so many tells. So if you're a copper, there's so many tells when you look around. You see people going, you see people looking like that. But the art of it, if you saw a guy just walk up to that van and just open the shutters up and get his barrow and start loading it up and then shut it and walk around the corner, you ain't gonna be fucking looking.
Nothing to see here.
But it's just looking. But if you're looking, constantly looking around and putting things like that, then all of a sudden you've just come on top. So the art of doing what we were doing then as young kids and young men was just doing it in such a way that no one knew that we was at it. Right. And then what we did, we used to take padlocks as well with us. So we would chub their padlock, put it in our pocket, and then we would empty them, and then we'd put another chub on it. So they'd come back, same padlocks we'd use, and they'd come back and put their key in it to put their barrel on it and think, oh, fucking hell, it don't work. So they'd spend 45 minutes to an hour, and then they'd phone their company up and they'd get someone to come and undo it. But by the time they come down, we've gone. So the art of it was, so we learned very, very early that really, if you could plan things and do things properly, it'd give you that little bit extra time.
So none of the stuff you did really, forget the initial stuff.
Initial, yeah.
But later on, it was planned properly. You'd actually spend time doing recce's, looking at it.
We'd spend 3 or 4 weeks looking at jobs, and I'm really, mostly, looking at people. I got as I got older, I mixed in quite a, our underworld, say, and because of who we were, we were all quite handy. Done kickboxing, boxing, right. Taekwondo, everything I'd done as a kid. And all the guys around me were all pretty good as well, if not really, really good. Some of them were really good. And so what happens? People would approach us and say, like, I've lost some gear, 50 key, 100 key, whatever. And they say, this fucking firm are taking it. Is there any way you can get it back for me? So our thing was not really going in there and just killing people and burning their fucking houses down or breaking their legs or anything. Our job was just to find out who they were, find out where the gear was, find out where the slaughter was, and just look at them, and see where they live, see where the slaughter is, and then find the most opportune moment to actually go in there and take it without really hurting anyone.
So you were basically robbing drug dealers.
Yeah, first of all, we were robbing drug dealers.
So you were like, kind of like Robin Hood.
You
was robbing from the drug dealers and then giving it back to the drug dealers.
I think we never actually robbed any drug dealers per se, because that's not what we do. Right. We robbed drug dealers that stole off other people and never paid their debts.
But that's what I mean. It was robbing off drug dealers for drug dealers, but they hadn't paid the bills. So you weren't really robbing them. You were sort of taking back that because they hadn't paid for the merchandise.
if people took a liberty, then we took a liberty with them. We'd pick them up in the car. We'd educate them a little bit. We never really hurt anybody. I've been in this game forever, and I've never really hurt anybody, and I've never been hurt. Because I think we always conducted ourselves in a way that really lent to not getting reprisals. If you start stabbing people and shooting people, then the law of averages says that someone's going to come and do it to you. Yeah. If you treat people good, you walk away with them, and then all they're left with is a bit of embarrassment. They're less likely to come after you and want to kill you. Right. So we done that for quite a few years, and then we went into different games. I lived in Spain for a little while.
Whereabouts in Spain were you?
I was in Mias. I was in Coin, Torremolinos, Benalmádena, Marbella.
Yeah, it's good fun down there.
Yeah, I had a great few years over there, and I actually went over there for an holiday, and then I got into the puff game. I started running puff up, and I thought this is quite easy. And I started doing that and then sending it back, and then every month I think we started on 50 a key. We was doing like 500 a key every few weeks. And
that was literally, you were there on holiday. And then what, did you meet somebody, or did you just...
Basically what happened is I got involved with a load of some lorries full of gear, and a friend of mine got nicked. And because I knew him really well, I had to get out of Dodge for a little while, because, the LB were looking for his friends, and I was one of them. So I thought if I disappear for a few months, and I'll be okay. So I went over there, phoned a couple of pals up there, and they said, come over, it's fucking all right over here.
Like sunshine,
loads of birds, loads of everything. I said, yeah, no problem, I'll come over there. And then I watched what they were doing. They was doing packing the gear, and then they was doing runs and that. So I said, I'll do a few runs. So I started buying gear over Marbella and Coin, packing it, and then I was running the gear up from Marbella to Valencia. And it was back in them days, you never had the motorway then. It was all the A road. So they used to have regular checkpoints. So your speed, we used to have the guy who was behind me in an English number plate, the guy, I used to have Malaga, or no, I had Madrid, and my mate had Malaga plates. So what he used to go forward, and if they done a roadblock, he would then phone us up, because we had the fucking phones then. the big ones, yeah. And
batteries, weren't
they? He would then say, look, they're doing a roadblock, so move over, and I'd pull over. If we missed it, then if it looked like we were coming to a roadblock, my guy behind me with an English number plates would just fucking vom, because they never blocked off the whole road. They just told people to pull over. Anyone they didn't like, they just said pull over, pull over, pull over. And then what we did, you pull over and you think, fucking, I'm going to get out of this. I've got like 300 key in the back of 500.
Did you actually get pulled over at one point?
I was in a few situations where the car behind me had done it, boom, and what happened? Then they all went after him, and we went off, and we went through.
But that was the decoy, if you like. So.
Yeah, it's the idea of just keeping cool. I can always, remember, because you're in that. I can always remember singing Roadblock. Roadblock, and I'd sing it as I go. I'd be telling myself, "Don't fucking sing that because it's bad luck." I'd be singing it, and all of a sudden, it happened. But I've done it for a few years. I had some really, really great times, and we've done some really good work. Unfortunately, like everything, one of my pals went off a cliff. Right. He was one of the drivers, and we never saw him for a few days. And then his girlfriend came around and said he'd gone off a cliff and died. So
he'd actually driven the lorry off a cliff.
Yeah, it was a car. What we used to do, we used to go up there, and then we used to take the gear up there, and then afterwards we'd all drive back in different cars. Like to get back for the morning.
But that was an actual.
It was an accident. It was an accident. Right. Yeah. So that was quite unfortunate, and it was quite a shit time. And I decided that, I'm gonna fuck off out of there. And then I went over to Amsterdam. Right. I spent a while over there doing what you do. Right. I knew some really good people, and then I got into everything. Right. And I was quite well connected. I'm good at buying stuff and testing it and everything else. I can wash up, I can fucking do everything, and I know what's good and what's bad with his child or whatever. So I was just buying and putting on.
But the robbing stuff you put to one side basically.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm going to just focus on this.
Oh yeah. It was just about earning a living. Right. It was just a job. Like for me, it was never the fact that I fucking really enjoyed this game. Right. It was just about earning money. But also doing something that I liked. I liked working 1 day a week and getting a year's money. Yeah. Or
I think everybody like that. No, I wouldn't want to get out of jail, but I think they like it.
It's addictive. Right. It's really addictive, and the funny thing is that the more you do it, the more you want, right, and the more risk you're prepared to take. And I did. I just carried on doing it for a few years.
Well, so in Amsterdam, what was you dealing with an organisation there, and then from there, was you working like with the Colombians or was it just one organisation?
No, I worked with the Colombians. I worked with the mafia. I worked with the mafia for quite a few years.
Which one was it?
The Italian mafia.
With the Ndrangheta?
I couldn't tell you.
Because the reason I ask is because we interviewed Melissa, who was she was called the Mafia Princess, and she was. Her father was Emilio Di Giovanni, and he was the godfather of the Ndrangheta, Italian mafia crime family. And I think over the past 10 years, they're 85 billion a year through importing and exporting drugs. So it's a big thing for them. So I thought that might be.
No. You know what? These guys were definitely mafia. Right. They were definitely Italian.
But I didn't give you.
Well, what I did, I met them because they were doing all our money transfers. So what I'd do, if I wanted 300,000 or 400,000 quid in London. I would take it down to say Brick Lane, Kit Kat Street. Yeah, I'd go in there and I'd meet one of their people, and I'd drop the money off there. One of my boys would be over in Amsterdam, and they'd be there as well. And as I dropped it, we'd phone on and say it's here. They're counting now, and then they would then give me the money out there to buy the gear.
Oh, so you didn't do a bank transfer?
No, so you don't do no bank transfer. You pay a percentage, 2 or 3% sometimes, but maybe a bit more sometimes.
What's that called? There's a name for that, isn't there?
Do you know what it is? It's just being smart. I know lots of guys that actually take money over in cars, on the fucking ferries and everything else. And you know what? For the sake of a couple of percent, I'd rather go into a place over in Watford, Luton, and give it to some reputable people that I know, and for them to then go, yay, and drop it over there. You know, they would take it there and their cousin would live there. You know, Indians, you know, for me are the best because they got uncles and family everywhere in every country. So no matter what country I went, Germany, anywhere, they would have an uncle or relative there. So I'd drop it off to them and his brother and uncle Sid would fucking...
Would they pay you in the local currency or would it be in...
No, I think most of them was Deutsch.
Right.
You know, with Deutsch German money. Yeah, you know what the whole idea was is that we would give them English over here or Scottish, depending on what I was working with. Right. They would then transfer it over there, whichever the money rate was.
So did you become like a hubtel? So you get the connects with Amsterdam, Colombia's Mafia, whatever, and then literally you then go to the firms here and say, right, there's a shopping list. What do you want?
No, I wish that was the case. That'd have been too fucking easy. Right. You know,
I love simplifying shit. Yeah. Sorry.
No. No. What it was, you know, every team or everyone wants their own connects, so they just do their own things. And what we did, we had our own firm. We worked with other people in our area. So what we did, we would all club in together. And what we did, if I bought something over in Amsterdam or wherever, the deal I would do is I'd buy it at a reasonable price, and also I'd give them, the sellers, an opportunity to put the same amount on. And I'd sell it at the price over here and put a few quid on it. So they would double their money. So instead, if they say like they were going to throw a kilo of coke at me at 17 or 16,000 quid, it cost them $3,000 to get back. And then we would go at 36 or whatever, yeah, depending on what it was. I would then sell their gear for 30. I'd nick $6,000 off it. You know, so for me, it was a win-win situation. But, you know, we weren't in a position to actually start giving that out like confetti to other gangs, because that's their fucking problem. Our thing was about earning our money, having our livelihood and keeping ourselves safe, because the less people know about what you're doing, the less chance of getting caught.
Because I suppose that's quite an important thing, because I can't think who said it, but somebody did say loose lips
sink ships, yeah. If you don't want anything said, don't fucking say it. If you don't want to repeat it, don't say it. You know, and I'm a firm believer. You know, I never mention anyone's names. You know, I know everyone as mate, my mate. That's it. And you know what? And if the old bill comes to me, yeah, I got my mate. That's it. You know, and I've never ever made a statement. I've been nicked, I think, 4 times in my life, and I've never made a statement. And no one's ever been nicked on the back of me. And the people I work with are all staunch. They're all like me. Yeah. You know, not cunts. You know. Sorry.
No, you can say it. It's my favorite.
You know, there's people nowadays. You know, misery likes company, and they get fucking nicked. They want to take everyone with them. You know, and unfortunately, we weren't like that. We knew all the pitfalls and what could happen, and we took that responsibility, you know, on our shoulders. If I was working in Amsterdam and my mates were over here selling the gear, whoever got caught, we looked after them. That's it. You know, so while I was in prison, they looked after me. If they ever got nicked, we looked after them.
I mean, because there's a lot of people who get involved in crime, and then when they do get nicked and they do keep their mouth shut, they don't get looked after, and then there's the resentment. But I think obviously if you do that, then you know.
I think it all depends on who you work with. You know, most of the guys I work with I've known for years. We grew up together in Camden town, Angel. So you know, everyone knows each other, and if someone's in prison, you can't send their missus some money. You can't send them some money, and it's not fucking hassle. You know, nowadays it seems to be a hassle to even give anyone anything. Right. You know, if you're a criminal, fuck him, he's in prison. You know, when we were inside, it wasn't the case. I can remember going in prison, and before I even landed, I had 3 phones waiting for me in my cell. You know, I had everything. I had everything that I could want was there. You know, as soon as I walked into prison, that's how it should be.
Lobster pasta.
You know what? I can always remember.
Bottle of champagne. It
wasn't pasta, but I know there was a bottle of Courvoisier there, because I used to get these little bottles of Courvoisier sent over all the time, and I can always remember talking to a psychologist, and I can remember her saying, "Have you been drinking?" And I said, "I've been in prison for 6 months. How the fuck am I going to get drinking here?" Right. So yeah, it was you know, it was a local prison. It was Pentonville. All my friends lived around the area, and this was before drones. You know, we had lines coming over there every day. We had dead birds coming over.
So explain that. So what
you do? There's a block of flats across the road. You would get a dead bird. You would rip out his guts. You would stick all the gear in it, and you would throw it over. You know, the screws would go out there, because what happens? You had people going around in the mornings who would clear up the shit parcels. People chucking shit out and that. And then what they do, they see a dead bird, and they go, "You put it in, and then put the dead bird in. And then as the guys came along, they'd put that dead bird through one of the windows, which would be one of ours, and then we would take the bird, take the stuff out, and it could be a tennis ball, it could be anything, and we done that for years.
And with the lines, what's the lines? Is that
the lines? We would there was nets. So what they did, they would throw something into the net. We would then hook onto that thing and then bring the line into our thing, and then we would then pull the stuff over. Right. So you had designated people on the different wings that would do that. So and being because we were from Camden, it was our manor. There's nothing that we couldn't get in. I'll give you one instance. Yeah, the prison is so preoccupied in stopping people getting stuff in that they neglect to look at their own people. As far as what we do, we had the probation service inside prison. So what we used to do, we used to send all our gear in, them bubble packets inside the big envelopes. So what we'd do, we'd go to the probation service and take all their leaflets out and then put them in there and just do it. So when it came in, they would then undo it, probation, and they would send it to the probation service, not thinking they had to really look at this. But all the drugs would be in the bubble. But one of our guys would be a cleaner on that probation service. So the probation officer would come in and they'd open it up and they'd think, what's all this junk? And they'd throw it all in the bin. But in the packing, in the envelope would be all bubble wrap, there'd be all drugs. And then we would just retrieve that. So they actually brought it in for us. So the probation was one of our best allies inside prison at that time when I was in Pentonville.
I mean, when you hear these stories, you sort of laugh because you sort of think, it's like fucking genius.
Do you know what? I think what it is.
I think you're the Steve Jobs of fucking crime.
You know what it is? We don't go in because we want to change. We go in because we got caught. So nothing really changes.
Got it.
It's just like the world changes. The rules change a little bit, but nothing really changes. You get drink in there, you get drugs in there. You can't get no birds. However, I've met a few women in there over the years. I've had some good relationships with. So everything's possible in prison. Nothing's off the table.
So obviously, when you was doing the Amsterdam stuff, where did you go from there?
I had a friend of mine, two friends of mine. I was working with some Yugoslavians, and they were ex-military. And one of them got shot, got killed, and the other one got crippled. And we were doing quite a bit then, and we was all in quite a lot of clique. You had a lot of Romanians coming over. You had some right nasty.
Was you actually in Amsterdam, or was you in?
No, I was in Utrecht. I was living in Utrecht. I had a flat out there. I was actually one of the main dealers out there who was well connected. He had a fucking great big house out there with speedboats. So I rented a place up there, and I used to go on these speedboats all day and just sun it. And
sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was a fucking terrible life. But I was selling his gear, so he then afforded me to go in his house and use it. And as long as I didn't bring any shit to his place, which I never. It was just, I'd go there, I'd keep away from the main Amsterdam, all the brothels and all that shit, because most people, they go to Amsterdam and they think, well, you know what, no one's looking at me. So they go in their asses, they're getting drunk, they're getting fucking pissed, and all of a sudden they're bringing it on top of themselves, And our thing was to go over there and just keep a real low profile. And we did, we went off the radar. Unfortunately, as I said, these two guys that were into quite a bit out there, and the Albanians came at that time. They were shooting anyone for anything, and unfortunately one of them got shot and killed, and the other one got crippled. So I decided to come out to England.
I think the problem. I mean, somebody was talking about Albanians recently, and they said the problem with places like that is life is cheap over there, and they're used to just like war, beheading people, killing people, doing anything, and obviously we're not that way inclined in England.
Yeah,
so
I think we're
obviously
a bit more
for them it's like that's just normal life. So when you're dealing with them, unless you're going to operate on their level, which a lot of people probably don't want to do.
No, the Russians were ruthless. The Scousers are ruthless. The Newcastle boys are ruthless.
Who was the worst, would you say?
I think the Russians. I didn't really like the Russians. They were fucking really ignorant. I'd worked with them and just buying it up that end was a nightmare because you never knew. I check all our vans, all our cars, make sure they never put any trackers on. I thought they were going to do the same to us. So that, you just couldn't feel safe that one of them would.
Because that was what I was going to ask you. Because we was talking earlier, and you mentioned that when somebody had a shipment stolen by another firm.
Yeah.
And then they obviously asked you to get it back.
Yeah.
Obviously, we talked about you got it back, but you didn't go into any specifics. But it'd be lovely to hear how you'd actually, because you just touched on it with the trackers. So
Yeah, I think this one was it was halfway up the road. It was in England. These guys had stolen some stuff. So what we did, because we had their addresses and everything else and who they were, we then set up on them. So we just bugged their cars, tracked on them. Because back in the day when we did it, you could put a little tracker on, and it would send a signal back every 10 or 15 minutes, so it wouldn't fuck up the life of the battery. If it sends it back every minute or every second, the battery level goes completely down. Yeah. So we'd just have our computer and we'd figure out where it went, and we'd clock up, and then we'd clock out where they come, and then we see that pattern, and all of a sudden we know that that's their slaughter. That's where they're coming all the time, because they live over here, and they're coming here all the time. So this has got to be their slaughter, and then we would just wait, and then we would wait for one of them to go and open up, and we'd take him out. We'd go and walk in behind him. We'd either go in his old Bill, or we'd go into something else, and he would be fucking shocked. And he would, when people, it doesn't matter how hard you are, you got three geezers who are a bit tasty or who can handle himself, and you're confused because 1 minute you don't know who these fuckers are. You think they're old Bill, you think they're capable, and all of a sudden you're on that few seconds you act differently. You'll hit the floor, and in that few seconds you're cuffed, and then your bravado comes in, and the big tough guy comes back again, but it's too fucking late. But most people go over. Most people go over within seconds. Security guards, they got an opinion of themselves. Most of them are ex-army. They can kill people with guns, and they can do whatever when they're surrounded by all their own people. But you go in on them quick, boof, they fucking shit themselves. But it only takes that few minutes. The most important thing is not to let them regain their sensibility at that moment. So the best thing is you go in hard, you go in fast, and you cuff them up. And then
speed, aggression,
yeah, that's it. But not necessarily violence. It's just really about just overpowering them with force in a way that they understand. Because if you're going like tapping on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me," I don't think they're going to do that. You know what I mean? But really, it's really what I found most of them. It's really an embarrassment of their egos and everything else that they suffer with afterwards. I as much as I smile now, I realise years later, that the trauma that some of these guys must have gone through, embarrassment and ego, and they probably got sacked as well. So I do feel for them. As much as I smile and everything, I do in some way feel a little bit of guilt for doing them, because they're only straight guys like doing their job.
So you've gone from doing all the stuff there. When you come back here, was you still doing the gear, or did you stop doing that?
No, what I did, I actually went from Amsterdam to France.
France?
Yeah, I was going to Germany and France, and I was got involved.
Did you put a little Perret on them?
Do you know what? Do you know it was? I did actually. I had a basket of loads of onions in. I had a basket of onions in straight up. I did. But no,
what was in the onions though?
Fuck all. A bad taste. No, I went to France, and because a mate of mine was doing some work down there, and he said, "Can you come down and give us an intel?" So I said, I want to head back to England, man. I want to go and see my kids and all that. He said, "Just come down, please. Just come down. I've got a nice little move." So he had a warehouse, and he had gear coming from Ostend, Luxembourg, and all that. And they just wanted me to take the cigarettes out of the cartons, make sure it got onto the lorry, and make sure it got to where it was going back in England. And it was really just logistics for me, So for me, it was really easy. So
with cigarettes, obviously, we talked about the drug side.
Yeah.
But what was the money in the cigarettes then?
The thing was,
were they stolen or were they?
No, they're bought.
Right.
So you buy them for £8 or £9, for a sleeve, and you sell them at 40 or 50 quid over here. So it's a no-brainer.
So it's like smuggling drugs, but instead of drugs, it's basically cigarettes.
It's better than drugs. The world that you're in is less violent.
If you get nicked though doing that, is it the same burden?
No. It's having cigarettes is a fucking slap on the wrist.
Okay.
If you got, I'm saying that if you got containers for, you're going to get 5 to 10 years plus a confiscation order. But if we were doing like 50, 60 grand's worth every couple of days. So because we didn't want to put loads on, so we had backs of lorries. So we'd have a lorry, and it would be regular pulling in there, and it'll have all this cargo on, and we'll have the back bit. So we'd take everything off and then put all the cigarettes on, and then put all their stuff back again. Then they would go and do their deliveries in England, and they would then code to us afterwards, and then we would unload it. I think it was about 40 grand every other fucking day we was getting. Wow. But it was good.
That's not bad. It's a fucking unbelievable living.
It was really good. We had a few of us there. So the people that organised it, the people that bought it. So it was a really good little turnover, and there was no violence, no drama. Unfortunately, like everything, the old Bill got on it, and they thought that we were smuggling drugs. So I can always remember I went back to England, and what I did, I had a Range Rover, believe it or not, and my mate couldn't drive the 7.5 ton lorry. It was empty, but all the cigarettes were on this farm, so we had all our people out the road in lorries and vans, and we would go in there and we would load up, and they would pay us and blah blah. So all that 40 grand's worth or whatever would go in minutes, it'd be all gone. So I said to my mate, drive the fucking lorry, and I'll take my car down now. He said, no, I can't drive that. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So the old Bill didn't know that, but they knew my Range Rover. So he drove and he went a bit faster than normal, and I was lagging behind, and he drove into the farm, and just as he drove in, a fucking Land Rover came across the road behind him, and then two come out from from everywhere. They just came out, and the next thing there's fucking guns on him. He was with his friend as a young guy, and both of them looked shocked. I remember driving past and thinking, fuck you, no, I just missed that. I was on the main road. They just pulled off it, but the old Bill thought that was me. And they thought we were doing drugs. They thought they thought the lorry in there was full of drugs. So they had all their sights on them and everything else. Lucky it wasn't. They were just cigarettes. So I think both of them got off of it because they were working for a courier company at the time, and they were sent there to do that. Unfortunately, my mate, who was the courier company guy, got 6 months in prison, so it was a slap on the wrist. And then I went on the run for about 4 or 5 weeks, and then Customs and Excise phoned my solicitor, and then I had to go to Customs and Excise. And I don't know if you know about Customs and Excise, they give you all the questions they're going to ask you before you go in an interview room. So so we went through all the questions, and I just went in and said no comment. They thought they had me on fingerprints and something else. And they said, oh, well, once the fingerprints come back and DNA, you'll be nicked, Mr. Ellis, and that was it. And about 3 months later, they dropped the case because they never had that because I wore gloves. So, and then that was it, end of. So, and then I was back in England.
Is that your tip then, basically wear gloves?
Never ever, because you do get a bit blasé. Because even when I was unloading the boxes, my mates would just take their gloves off. I said, what are you fucking doing? Just put the gloves back on and just fucking do it. Keep to the script. Because the minute you take it like we're going to get away with this forever, we're going to get fucking nicked. Your fingerprint's going to be all over it. Anyway, so for me, it's always about gloves on. I've even got my gloves in there. I've even got a little phone that we carry around all the time. Just them little Encros things. I normally have it all the time, but I never brought it today.
Have you got one of them?
Yeah, I always have it. Just in case anything happens and I get a tug, right. I can then quickly phone my solicitor.
Because I had a King's Counsel on here recently, and he was talking about the Encro, the actual thing.
Sorry, not the Zenko. The Encro is the one that's encrypted.
The Encro chat, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a million people. No, the little Zenko I have a little Zenko phone.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a little miniature phone. It's the size of my finger.
Okay.
So what I normally do, I always have it on me. So if I get a tug, which I don't do no more, if they take me to the police station,
habits die hard, right?
You know what it is? For years, you do. You still nothing ever changes. I've changed, but the old Bill haven't. They still they still have a little eyeball every now and then. They still think that they're gonna stitch you up, and for me, it's just about being prepared. And I always, for 5 years, I always carried this little Zenko around with me, and it was just in the right place, tucked in. That if they did come, I could just shove it on my bollocks. And once I'm in the police station, I can then phone my girlfriend and my solicitor and say, look, this is what's happened. Get down here because I don't want to be banged up.
What solicitor? Have you had the same sort of law firm?
No. I always had different ones. My girlfriend's got a list of solicitors that we use in our world.
Can't Co on there?
No, there's you know what?
The only reason I'm asking is because they sponsor the podcast.
No, you know what? I use people that have been tested. I don't use normal people. People that have been in the game forever and who are willing to fight. Because the whole idea is, look, they all know we're guilty. But there's going in there just taking us on, taking our money and then doing the defence and not having that belief. The few barristers I've had over the year, they've had the belief they're going to win, and that's what I want. So there's no point in paying good money for some who's going to do it half-heartedly, because I know people that are in prison now because they never had the right barrister. They could have got off if they had the right barrister, because money talks. If you've got the right money, you're going to get out of there. And yourself, you've got a bad barrister and you've got a good barrister will run rings around this fucker. And the next thing, you'll be doing 20 years for a murder you never did, or a robbery you never done. And I do know people that are serving life sentences for things they've never done. Wow. I'll tell you about after.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah. It happens. There's no doubt about it. Over the last 20 or 30 years, we've had. I hate to bring up the Guildford 4, the Birmingham 6, because they're old cases. We just had a guy who'd done 17 years for a rape. I can't remember his name. We've also got Jason Moore. Yeah, he's doing a life sentence for a murder he didn't commit. And it happens. And even though the evidence is irrefutable that they're not fucking people, the way the British system works, it takes 20 years for them to say sorry. And you know what? That's 20 years too long for a family. They've had one of their loved ones inside. This guy who got done for the robbery, he done 17 years. They actually cleared him 3 years afterwards. On DNA, they found it was someone else, but they never went back to court to get him out of there. They just thought, fuck it. He's now taking him to court because he found out about this and he got out of it. So it does happen. But unfortunately, the way the law works in this country, they make it fit. They make their story fit you, no matter who you are. You could have bald head and the geezer that shot him with that long hair. They're still convict you. You know what I mean? So you've got to be either on point and you've got to have the right people. If you ain't, you might just fucking give up. I know that's easy to say, but but it's you get the right people and that's it.
So you're back here now.
Yeah.
And then what was sorry, you was in France.
Yeah.
But then you come back here after France.
So yeah, and I sort of
how old are you now, Tel?
I'm 58.
58, but you look 33.
Cheers.
But how old was you then?
I think I was about 35.
Okay.
Yeah, about 35. And I was at the age there where I was pretty more confident with myself. I'd learned a lot. As you get older, you get more confident.
Yeah.
With your peers and everything else. You've seen it, you've done it before, and with that confidence that I had anyway as a criminal, I then started embarking on different things. And I think computers, chips were the number one thing then. They were having little vans driving along in the street with 3 or 4 million quid worth of computer chips in, and it was really like, from what I've been told, taking candy from a baby. Right. So
people went from robbing post office vans, post offices, banks, to then robbing computer chips.
Yeah. It's the same as like if you're in the robbery game, you then go into the drug game. Because it's easier than you get 17 years or a life sentence for arms or an IPP. You're never going to get out. You go into the drug game, you then, because you've got money, you then have other people working for you. They're doing the work, they're doing the selling, so you distance yourself from it. It's a natural ladder. You climb through the criminal underworld. There's people like me that just are always hands-on and like to do things. And there are people that got money. Like, I think an analogy would be poor people earn money to pay their bills. Middle-class people earn money so they can get everything on HP and have everything they want. And rich people use their money to get richer. Yeah. And I was just one of these people that I had lots of money. I had a couple of houses.
What's the biggest amount of money you've seen? Like
I've seen millions. I'm on the table. When I was in a drug game, I worked for some people, and they were getting I think at one stage 28 ton of weed in.
What does that even look like? Is that like a container, or is that?
No, it wouldn't come in. It's coming in.
Warehouse?
No, it's just 7 tons at a time. So you have 7 tons in, 7 tons in, 7 tons in, 7 tons in, 28 ton. Yeah, it'd come in whichever way it was, and then what happens? We were then tasked with getting buyers and then making sure that everyone got their stuff, and then when everyone sold their stuff, their money came into the counting room. We would then count it. We had our own flats. We would count it. would wrap it up and then we'd take it into a safe deposit place. Or, that was the best thing for us. And then they would come over, they would arrange the time and the place to come over. And then what we would do, we would take 2 or 3 million quid out to their cars and they would f*** off. And then we would do that until the whole shipment had gone. That was quite, it was a laugh, it was quite intense because you were always worried about getting robbed and you was always worried about the people you were dealing with. But luckily for us, they were really good. I found it extremely boring, counting money.
Didn't you want to buy one in counting machines?
No, we did have one. We did have a counting machine. But yeah, it was the bane of my life for a long time because I had to get the counting machine for a bank manager I knew. And it took him forever.
So you count all this money, right?
Yeah.
And you've transferred the hash or whatever it is into cash. And then you got all this cash, and then what do you do with it? I mean,
we just hand it over to the people that send the gear over. So we pay them. Right. So they I remember working for certain organisations that we would sell all their gear for them. So they would come over. So they would phone me. Say they had 100 gear, whatever, Puff or Charlie or whatever, and they'd say, "Tell, can you get rid of this?" I'd say, "Yeah, no problem, Boff," and I'd do it. And then I'd arrange the time and a place for them to pay them. And it would either be a restaurant that they owned or a restaurant that we owned or whatever. And then we would do it. It was really just fucking, it's a job. It's really easy. But yeah, as I said, I've counted millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. It's boring. It's fucking really boring. And especially when it's not yours, But yeah, I've had lots of money. I've had enough money that every floorboard in my place was I couldn't get no more in, and then I used safe deposit box, and then I had to change my safe deposit box 3 or 4 times because I went into a small one, then a long one, and then a suitcase one. Yeah, But yeah, it was a blast. I loved it. I loved that life. And then I got a lookout. I got 4 years. They came on me, and I got 4 years.
What was that for? Was that your first prison sentence?
No, I got one when I was a kid, about 20-something years old, for an armed robbery, and then I think I got 4 years. Then I done a couple of years. Then in my 30s, I got done for that, and I got 6 years. A mate of mine took a couple of kilos, Charlie, into a flat. I was in the car, and silly like bollocks me. I met him when he was doing a trade, and he was dealing with some Colombians at the time, and the Colombian had got caught and brought the old bill to us. So he was doing a trade, and the next thing, all the windows came in the old bill, come through the windows, everything, dragged me out of the car. I thought, well, they ain't got fuck on me. So I said, all right, what's the problem? Next thing, my mate walked out with 2 key, and then luckily it was shit gear.
Was he like, that's the problem?
I thought, that's fucking. I saw, I was on the floor, and then he came out of the block. But it was
Did
one
you
of them.
just go, what are you doing here?
No, I didn't even know. But they was on us. It was on him and they was on us. So they knew that he was in that block. But they came in on me, and then he walked out. And then, you know what? He had just come out and doing 12 years. So we, for me, it was just about, well, wipe my mouth, kept my mouth shut. He kept his mouth shut, and we both got, he got a 10. I got a 6 because it was the first time I ever for drugs. He just finished at 12. So, and that was it. And then I came out.
So how many years did you actually do?
I that 6. I think it was 4, and then I came out. They confiscated a couple of my asses, and then I was a bit pissed off, and it was then I really wanted to do something that really would really be good. As far as as getting my own back, I really wanted to get my money back and my asses back as quick as I could.
Is that where the Horizon thing come?
Yeah. What I did, I started planning jobs. So what I did, I started planning jobs. I bought British Telecom vans. I bought gas vans.
It's good to talk.
It's good to talk, yeah. It definitely was. You know what I mean? So what we did, I just drilled an hole in the back of a van. And then I'd park it on, I'll just give you an example. I'm not going to tell you I've done the job, yeah? So the old idea of it is that you would park up a factory or a warehouse, wherever they had whatever. I would park the van and I would just look, and I'd see who was the first person there in the morning. So I knew that he was the key holder. Then another one would be the alarm guy. So the 2 of them would go in. So one would be the alarm guy, one would be the key holder. And then I'd see how many people come between the hours of, say, 7 o'clock to 8, whether to hit him now or hit him in the evening. And then also what I'd do on the Sunday or whatever, or in the evening, I'd set the alarm off and I'd see who came out. So maybe if 2 of them came out, because the old bill always comes out. So the old bill come out, the key holder comes out, and the alarm guy, there'll be three or four of them or whatever. Then you set it off again and again and again, and all of a sudden the old bill go, fuck it, it's something wrong with your alarm. Then all of a sudden one guy comes out, and then he's got the alarm and the keys, and he opens the fucking door, and you walk around the corner in a police uniform, and he's none of the wiser. And next thing he's on the deck, he's wrapped up, and your vans are pulling in, and you're opening the shutters.
So when you approach him, would you go up to him and go, hello,
please.
hello?
No, yeah. hello.
Even all?
Leave it all. Do you know what? I'll be perfectly honest with you. Is I work with some people, and they used to rehearse a script, and I always say you don't really need to rehearse because the old bill don't rehearse with you. They just come in and say you're nicked, and he's walk into a place and say we're police officers, you're under arrest, or I would then ask them who they were and what company they work for, and then I would radio through to my guy in the van. And I'd say, we got Mr. So-and-so, blah, 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 and they say, we haven't got no one working here with that name. And so I say, for my protection, my officer's protection, I'm going to have to cuff you until I find out who you are, and I'd cuff him, and I'd walk him in, sit him down.
Not really.
Yeah, and he'd be none the wiser, and then 3 or 4 hours later he'd be sitting in the room, and then the whole place would be fucking emptied. It was just a life, man. It was just the life that we led.
Someone told me a story, and I don't know whether it was a van or a lorry, but they said that these guys, and it might be you and your group, right, who were doing this, I don't know, but they used to go to warehouses where there was like something worth nicking, and they'd pull up by the side of the thing, and then they would like drill a hole through the wall, and then like take everything into the van. Or maybe it was a lorry. I'm not sure how that would work. But.
Well, you know what? Look, if you got a warehouse that's shut up for Christmas and you can get access to the wall and go through it without setting the alarm off, then good on you. It wasn't me. It wasn't us.
Yeah. No, someone told me that, and I just thought.
I think for us it was. I think we learned very early that most high value places have all got security guards because their insurance dictates there has to be a security guard or a Scotland Yard on we say a Scotland Yard inside, maybe one or two. So the whole idea was with that happening, we made it more easy for us because if you go and break into a place and the alarm goes off, the police come. Yeah. If you go to a warehouse in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, the chances are that security guard has turned off all the alarms and everything. So as soon as you pull up and you show him your ID and your police uniform, he's going to open the fucking door. So all the alarms are off, everything's off, and you got from 1 o'clock until 6 o'clock to unload the place. So they actually made it easier by implementing different procedures.
And was you stealing something particular?
Yeah. We would get CAS numbers. So like I'd be asked to go into a warehouse and they'd give me a CAS number for a pallet, whatever it was, and I'd go in there and go and get it. So my job would be to go in there, go on the computers, look at the CAS number, go and get the pallet, maybe 1 or 2 pallets with the serial numbers, and we'd take them and we'd go and drop them off to people. Right. So for us it was really easy.
So I suppose really you was the Amazon of crime. They'd all make their order with you. You go in there and pick it up.
We had in our world, so to speak, we had a real good guy who facilitated iron jobs. So he would then come to us and say, look, I've got this job, and this is what it involves. Can you do it? And then, so he'd give us all the schematics to it. He'd give us everything we need. And then we'd just look at it. We'd go take it home. As I said, my mate's ex-army. We'd look at everything, and then we just figure a way of getting in there. Right. And as I said, 9 out of 10 times, it would be easy. It'd be easy. But Verizon was our downfall, I think.
So talk about that. I mean, how did that job come about?
Again, I got a phone call. I did go and meet a mate of mine who facilitates high-end jobs. But on behalf of a banking organisation, this was like a banking syndicate. So I met him and he said, there's a place in Camden, King's Cross. It holds data for some of the leading banks in England and America. We want you to take someone in with you to download some data, but we also want you to nick all the motherboards. I think it was 120 of them. But it's got to look like a robbery. It's got to look like you're just going in for that. No one can know what the fucking else you're going in for.
That fucking sounds like James Bond shit.
You know what? It was for us. It was just another job. So we'd go down there and just have a quick look at it. I remember being just saying, like, I can remember him coming to me and saying, there's a job down here. Everyone who's looked at this job thinks it's impossible. And I know a few guys had looked at this job over the years.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, it was basically like, it's seen by most people in the underworld that it was a no-go, because you had 3 police stations, you had Highbury, you had King's Cross, and you had Holmes Road and Albany Street. So it's 4, and you had the British Underground police station there as well. So It was a rat run, and this place was massive. It backed onto the canal, and there was only one way in and one way out. I'll just tell you that the security. So when I looked at the schematics of it, it had 8 layers of security. So when you pull up there, it's got a perimeter, it's got patrols, it's got overlapping cameras that see night and day, that clear as night as day. On the entry, you've got a biometric hand scanner and a card scanner at the entry. When you go through that, you've got a thermostatic pressurized compartment. So what that means is that you go in that compartment, 2 or 3 of you, the door shuts behind you, the room pressurizes, and the other door opens, you walk through. You then go into a foyer it's a bulletproof foyer, glass there, and there's a security guard behind now. He then buzzes you for a turnstile if he lets you in. And behind that is a metal door that leads into a CCTV camera suite with 3 security guards monitoring about 30 or 40 cameras on now. And by the side, they got panic buttons. But not just content with that, on the floor where the motherboards were and where the main servers were, where we wanted to take the guy in with us there, that had a private security system operating there as well, monitoring that room. So we had to overcome this all the security on this with all the security. I think there was 10 security guards in all there, and then we had a private security company in there monitoring it from somewhere else. So it was then seen by everybody as fucking impossible.
What was in there then? I mean,
this place held data for some of the leading banks in America.
Oh, so it was like basically sensitive information.
Oh yeah, you were talking like, anything to do with prime mortgages to charging people through their credit cards. We're talking. We shut down 3 countries as far as I can remember.
So when was this? 2000?
This is in 2007. This was just before the banking crisis.
Right.
So we're talking. The information on there could have been responsible for taking a lot of people out.
Do you think that's why whoever wanted it done was just get rid of it?
We were tasked with just getting. Them motherboards were worth 5 million quid.
Right.
So we were tasked with just getting them out and giving to them. So that was to stop anyone going in and quickly setting it all up again. The guy that we was asked to take in now, he was a different class. He was there to download stuff. So we took him. So there was 5 of us, the main team. I had 4 geezers who were tech guys from our side as well that could take the motherboards out. Yeah. And I had this one guy I took in. I also had an Alsatian dog, police vans, police cars, all the uniforms, everything. So the whole idea was about authenticity. It had to look right, because if we'd have pulled up there and we couldn't get in there, we'd have got f***ed, because the police stations we want to go out of there. So I can always remember, driving down there that night.
How long did it take you to actually plan this though? Because it sounds like something Tom Cruise would be asked to do,
I think it was.
You're the British Tom Cruise, you aren't you?
I mean, my mate is, you know what I mean? Frank. No, that one took us 4 weeks. Wow. So what we did, we had a British Telecom vans, and we parked them in different points around it, so we could clock how many people there. There was so many people coming and going, and it was a really hard job. You couldn't ram it.
Can you talk about how you got in there or not really?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how I got in there. Yeah. As I said, it had so many cameras, security guards, everything. So it was about coming up with an idea. I looked at it for 3 weeks and I thought, you know what, this is impossible. There's no way I'm going to get from there to there without being someone confronting us or someone setting off a panic alarm or whatever. So I was actually going up to West Amsterdam. And as I was driving along, all the old bill was stopping cars and everything else. There was some geezer up on the roof. And I saw all the old bill looking up, I saw all the people looking up, and I thought, lovely, that's how I'm going to do it. Because up until that moment, I didn't know how I was going to do it, whether it was going to be police uniforms, anything else. And I thought, you know what? The only way I'm going to be able to get in this place is to be totally authentic, 100% authentic. So that's really getting the vans, the uniforms, but to make it really good was to take an Alsatian dog with us as well. So as we pulled up visually, all the security guards, the head of security, everything else would see us coming towards the main entrance and go, It's the old Bill area. So what I did, I buzzed on the intercom. We got through all the security systems, buzzed on the intercom, and they said, what's the problem, officer? I said, we've had reports of someone on the roof, and we want to come in and check the building. So they let us in. They just let us in. We just walked straight through. Went into the foyer. They buzzed us through. And next thing, I'm sitting next to the CCTV camera suite. These are the ones I wanted. These 3 guys, because they had panic buttons. So all of a sudden, because it was about thinking on your feet. I said, look, we've had reports of someone on the roof. The guy who's on the roof is wearing a security guard's uniform. So have any of you been up on the roof? And they went, no. So I said, for my protection and my officer protection, I'm going to have to cuff all you until I find out who you are. Stand up.
I want to say a huge thanks to our sponsors, Fragrance du Bois. Now, for those of you that don't know about Fragrance du Bois, where have you been? It is one of the leading luxury fragrances, only available in Harrods, Selfridges and Neiman Marcus in New York. They've got so many different fragrances for men, for women. All of the fragrances are unisex. So make sure you get involved and sample the delights of Fragrance du Bois. For all the Criminal Connection podcast crew, we've got a special discount for you. 10% off. All you need to do when you click on the link below and choose your luxury fragrance is to put in CCPOD10 for the 10% discount.
And all of a sudden, all 3 of them stood up. So they stood up. We had 2 security guards with us anyway. So I took them out into the stairwell and cuffed them all. And then what we did, we went on the cameras and we got the other security guard to call everyone down. So there's another 5 security guards. So me and my other pal, we went up and we collared 2 of them on the top floor. And the others, we called down on their radios. They come down in the lift. And as they come out of the lift, we just wrapped them up and put them in. And then my other 4 guys that were across the road, who were tech guys, as soon as we done this, they were outside there was them 4 and the guy who was going to download everything. He was in a separate car. So what we did, we went upstairs, we took a little circuit breaker out. We took it out, and then I was downstairs on reception. My mate was upstairs. I said, ready, steady, go, boff, took it out, and then all of a sudden the reception phone went. I said, Verizon Security, can I help you? And all of a sudden this guy come on. He said, all our cameras have gone down on the floor, blah, blah, blah. And he said, what's going on? I said, we've had a surge in the mainframe computer system. Our tech guys are on it now. We should be up and running between 20 and 45 minutes. Do you want me to give you a ring back? And he went, yeah, all right. And he put the phone down. And I thought, lovely, boff. And then all of a sudden I called the other guys across, called them in. They all went and done their job. We then secured it, and it was just then a waiting game for 50 minutes. I think it took us 10 minutes to get everything sorted in now. And then I had 50 minutes. So on the cameras, I could see on the floor, we had 20 washing bags. So all I kept seeing was 2 washing bags come out at a time with the motherboards. So it was like the Ocean's 11 job. That's why they called it the Ocean's 11 job. So I was to 2. So I'm thinking, hurry up, because we've only got an hour before the screen goes up anyway. And next thing I know, it's just going and going, and all of a sudden my mate's radioed me. He said, "Tell there's 2 geezers coming towards the front entrance." I thought, fuck, what are they like? He said, one of them's carrying a bag. I said, all right, they're probably tech people. Just calm the fuck down. So I said, what I do, I'll wait at the lift. I said, buzz them in. As soon as they come in, let them get in the lift. And if they come to our floor, I'll have them. I'll have them. So what I did, I never told my guys that were in the room. And I never told my guy who was downstairs with the dog. Just me and him knew, my pal. And there was 2 of them coming up in the list. And I thought, fucking hell, how am I going to have these fuckers on my own? But I thought, I'm not going to call anyone, because I didn't want anyone to stop. I didn't want to panic them. So I stood at the lift, and all of a sudden the lift came to my floor, and then it went up to the next floor. And I felt a big sigh of relief. And I phoned my pal. I radioed down. I said, listen, just keep an eye on them, see where they go. And he was keeping me informed all the time. So he said they'd gone on the 3rd floor, they'd gone into a room. I said, if they move from that room, tell me, and that was it. And then it was a radio silence for them, because there was only one person talking all the time. And then all of a sudden the bags were coming out. And then I said, right, we got 10 minutes, guys. We got to wrap this up. And all of a sudden the one guy came out who'd done all the downloading. He went. So he's the guy that downloaded all the stuff. And then the tech guys came out. And then all of a sudden we all got 2 bags each. I took 3, my other pal took 3, because my guy who had the Alsatian dog, the dog was going mental. So he was just barking and jumping on people. So he took the dog out and put it in the van, and we just walked out. Everyone went to their cars. We went in the van, and then our van and the car behind us, we drove up to Kentish Town. And just as we got level with Kentish Town police station, all fucking hell broke loose. All Wild Bill came in front of us. All vans and lights going down. And all I could hear was my mate in the back, because all the motherboards were there, and he was in the back with the dog. He's, fuck's going on? What's going on? You know? I said, just calm down. I said, it's all right. So they're going down to, they're going, they've been called already. So I think we left bang on 10 o'clock, and 6 minutes, by 6 minutes past, the whole place was surrounded, and they were in there. So we were pretty lucky.
Yeah.
We drove past. We went out to Amsterdam. He got out at Amsterdam and walked the dog to where we got it off. And then we met at the slaughter, got rid of all the gear, all our uniforms, all the cars. And then we went up to a little shebeen, and we had a little piss up until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was it. That was the end of that. You know, it was a good bit of work, and that's all it was. And then the next day, it was everywhere. They said, I can always remember, they said that a team of military guys had come over and done this job. It's a military position. They're all foreigners and everything else. So we thought, lovely. And then I had a mate of mine, 2 mates of mine phoned me. He said, fuck me, have you heard about a job in Camden Town, King's Cross? They've nicked millions and millions of quid to have a fucking man, blah, blah, blah. I said, mate, I've been ill, mate. I've been ill for the last couple of days. My phone's been off and I've been ill in bed. What's the matter? He said, you know what, Tel, I thought it was you. I said, no, I wish it was, mate. I said, listen, I'm tired, bro. I'll speak to you later, and that was it. And then I had a couple of other phone calls. But it was actually quite funny, because in our game, you really can't say nothing. You know, you can't own the fact that was you, because otherwise you're going to get fucking chawed. You know? But that was it. You know, that was the Ocean's 11.
And then what happened? Because that's what you got the big lump of bird for.
Yeah, I got 16 years for that.
So how did that actually catch you?
Do you know what? How did they catch anyone? You know, it could have come from anywhere. All I know is that only 2 of us have ever been nicked for this. They've never recovered any money. They've never recovered any motherboards, and they've never recovered anything. So
I suppose it's, in a way, it was successful. 8 people got away, and they never got.
They never got nothing. I know the first I knew about it, I was actually at my girlfriend's house, and it was about 5:30 in the morning, and I'm always up early. And I was just going out to go have a cigarette on the balcony, and as I looked down, I see a bird and a geezer walk past, and they just didn't look right. So I had some money in a rucksack, about 30 grand. I had my passport and everything else, my keys. So I walked through and grabbed hold of them and jumped up on the roof and slipped. And as I got to the end and I jumped down, I saw them all going in the ass. You know what I mean? So I was pretty lucky, and I spent a year on the run. You know, I went and rented out a canal boat, and I stayed on the run for a year.
Have you ever seen that thing, Rosie and Jim?
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah,
so, you know
see,
what?
you was like Rosie and Jim in it,
you know,
on the barge.
I love that life. You know, I love that life. And it's funny how I had to be on the run and had everything on my head to actually find the perfect life. It's funny, isn't it? You know, I found the perfect serenity, as they say, you know, in lifestyle. I was on a boat, it was beautiful, I was on the water. And to be honest, I actually came down to London on the boat and parked behind Verizon for about 3 weeks.
Like,
So they never knew. I thought this would be the last place they're going to look, because my kids live in the Camden. Right. So I was going to visit them, but no one, you know, the old Bill were after me, and I didn't realise at the time how heavy they were. They had a special unit on us. I think they were 70 strong. Wow. They went forever. They went to Scotland, Liverpool. Every buyer that we used to have doing this, they shut down. They didn't realise.
Where's Terry?
They didn't realise that this gear had gone that. It was gone that night.
Right.
So I remember we met our fixer the next day. So we drove up there with a van. He had his guy. He said, I can't fucking believe it. I can't believe you done that. I can't believe you went in this old Bill, you cunt. You know what I mean? And he said, because I never told him how he was going to do it. I just said, we will get your guy in there. We will make sure that he gets whatever he gets. You know, we never ever got a rough. Them motherboards were worth 5 million. And I know that he was in the service.
I suppose what was on them was probably worth a lot more.
You know, if I give you like because a lot of people say, you know, do I ever feel guilty about it, about robbing the banks? And I always say no. You know. I feel guilty about the security guards because they're only normal guys. But I don't feel any way or any, you know, I'm just indifferent to the fact that I took money from the banking system, because I just give you a couple of examples. Wells Fargo, yeah? It's one of the biggest banks in America. They set up 3 million bank accounts in America in their clients' name, and they earned millions. I think they got fined 5 billion.
Wow.
And then what happened? They then set up a procedure in their company that their customers couldn't reach, so they then were penalised again. So they earned millions again. I think over a 10-year period, that bank earned 120 billion. And the guy that introduced it, he actually got the sack. But when he got the sack, this was 10 years in the making. He got the sack, but he was given $120 million. The banking system over there then took him to a tribunal. He was then fined $20 million and banned from the banking industry for life. But he got 100 million. The actual Wells Fargo earned 120 million. 20 billion, I mean, sorry, yeah. And if you take JP Morgan paid 38 billion pounds out, or dollars in the last 3 years. After that,
in fines.
Yeah, and that's only I think just less than 3 months interest or whatever. So they got so much money, and for them to get fined 38 billion, that shows you they're all at it.
Right.
Also, Verizon, because we could never understand why we got all that information to get in there, But Verizon started up a thing where they were robbing or overcharging pay-as-you-go users, and that started in 2007, and that was just about to come on top when we went in there. That information went, and it took until now for that information to come to light through other avenues. But they just got, I think they got fined. I think it was 75 million. But over that period, they've been found guilty, and they paid 200 or 300 million in fines. JP Morgan, on the other hand, they were supposed to be part of an investigation by the American FFC, whatever it is, who go into the banking industry and uncover these sort of scams. JP Morgan Chase destroyed 47 million emails before they could actually go in there and get it. So I don't feel any way about the banking industry because it's fucking corrupt. We was hired by people in the banking industry to actually do this, and I can only assume it was to get rid of certain information that was part of the banking crisis in 2008. The prime mortgages are what actually set that off. They earned hundreds of billions of pounds, and no one ever got arrested for that. So as I said, I don't feel any qualms about doing it.
Did you get nicked on a barge, or did you hand yourself in?
No, I was actually up in Leegrave, just past Luton. I was just on my way to Thailand, so I'd arranged to pick up a passport a couple of days earlier, and the guy I was supposed to meet, I never had it ready for me. So I phoned my mate in Thailand and said, I'm coming over, sort me a place out and everything else. So he'd done that. And what I did, I arranged to meet this fucking idiot at the fucking airport, at Luton Airport. And just as I rented out a little place up in Luton, and just as I walked around the corner, fucking the whole street came alive with old Bill. I was walking along the street, I was on the phone with one of my pals in London, and it was like slow motion. All I saw was like old Bill running towards me, plain clothes, straight away. So my phone went over the wall, and next thing I thought, fuck, there's a van pulled up, cars pulled up. And next thing, they're just on me. They're just smashing the fucking life out of me. And they got me on the floor, and they pulled me up, and they kept saying, we got we got him. And I'm going, you've obviously made a fucking mistake.
Where's the motherboard? Where's the computer chips?
but I lost so much weight because I was on a run, and I was quite big, but I was running every day and I was training. So I was trying to just change my thing. I had some tattoos on my arms and that, and I got laser treatment, got rid of them all. I got the passport, so I was going to fly through customs, and I thought I was going to live happily fucking ever after in Thailand. And next thing, I'm sitting in a van on the motorway going back to London in about 6 or 7 o'clock at night, just watching all the lights and thinking, fucking hell, I'm not going to see daylight now for fucking 20 years.
Did you think you'd get that much bird?
Do you know what? I was because we never used any guns, I just assumed that we'd get 10 years, 10 or 11 years, because no guns, no drama. As far as I was concerned, we never hurt no one. And that was a stipulation with our team. No violence, nothing. We weren't carrying guns, we weren't fucking threatening people. However, we did going hard, I'm not going to lie. We did going hard because we had to take control. But no, I thought 10 years max. And then I was in Wandsworth what happened, I tried to escape from Pentonville. I went out on an ID parade, I ended up smashing a copper. And then I went over the wall at St Anne's ID parade, but they got me and they beat the shit out of me. And then I had to go and see a psychologist and shit. But they put me in a suit, like the special, green and yellow suit when you go in as escapee. That was the turning point for me, as they say.
And when you were in jail for that amount of time, is that when you actually started writing as well?
Yeah, I just say because I lost my train of thought. Getting back, what it was, I was in Wandsworth. I was in Pentonville, and they shipped me out from there. I went to Wandsworth, and I never had no visits that day. And then all of a sudden, they came to me and they said, "Mr. Ellis, you got a visit." I went, "I haven't got a visit. I ain't got a visit because I had a phone. I knew no one was coming up." And they said, "You got to go down to the interview rooms." I said, "Why?" I said, "You just go down there." So the two of them, they took me down there and they put me in there. Next thing, I'm in this room and the security governors come in, asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee. I thought that was a bit fucking strange. What are you doing here? And then all of a sudden I saw these three guys at the end, and they looked like military guys, short hair, well built, all suited and booted. And then they come in and they said, we're not going to fuck around with you. We just want them motherboards. We want all the information. We want all the data back, and we want your team. And we want the fucking people that done it. Otherwise, I'm going to fucking ruin you. That's what he said. We will fucking ruin your life. We will ruin everyone in your life. We want that back now. And I went, nah, fuck off. And that was it. You know what I mean? They went outside. The security governor came back in to me. Said, "Listen, you know what? You're going to go away for fucking ever. All you got to do is play ball tail, and you'll be out." So they came back in. They said, "Look, we're going to do a deal with you. A one-time special offer. You can walk out of here. You can go home to your family and your kids. Surely you miss your girls and all that shit over again. You could be home tonight. We'll let you out. All we want is the motherboards. We want the fucking data, and we want your team, and we want the cunts who fucking set it up." And I said, "No, I can't do that. See you later." And that was it. So being an idiot, we're not necessarily an idiot. It's what I do. We're not going to turn over. I just assumed I'd get 10 years. And then all of a sudden I went to there. They came to me, they came to court that morning, the same guys, two of them. And they said, "This is your last chance. Play ball with us or you're going to get a massive sentence." I said, "Do your best." And that was it. And next thing I got 17 fucking years. I couldn't fucking believe it, for no guns or nothing. But you know what? It's part of the course, one of those things.
And when you actually, obviously you've been to jail before, so you kind of knew the drill, but obviously going for a year or 2 years or 3 years is a little bit different than going for 17.
Yeah.
How did you how did you feel when you actually got that sentence? Do you think I'm going to appeal it, or do you just think I've just got to do it?
Do you know what? Just do it. I calculated how long I had to do before I got out, and I looked at my family in the dock or in the gallery, and they were pretty upset. And I just went, "Look, it's just all right. Don't worry, it's going to be okay." By the time I left that little room, I felt my head wobble a little bit, as it does when you get a long sentence. And then by the time I got my foot through, I was back in the game. I'd calculated it. I thought, well, I've got to do 8 years, 4.5 months out of that. There's no drama. I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. And I was surrounded by some good people in prison. I'm not going to lie, some real good people. And because I tried to escape, I was then sort of gifted as a psychologist for the first time ever in my life. I've been in kids' homes and all that in my life, and I always normalised that sort of lifestyle as normal. And also I was beaten by the people that looked after me. They tried to beat me into submission. In them days, they thought if they beat you and sent you 100 miles away from where you lived, that they would win, but it never was the case. So I was holding a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and everything else. And I was quite an angry, tough guy who thought that I could live my life differently from everybody else, and I did, and I took liberties. And it was only when I started talking to a psychologist that I realised how fucked up my thinking was. How many people go into a place with no guns or any koshes or anything and think they can take on 10 security guards? How many people can do the shit that I did and try to escape with 8 old Bill there and smash one of them thinking I was going to fucking win? So there was something really not right in my head or with me. I don't know what it was. Right. But there was a lot of anger. And I started speaking to this psychologist, and I realised, and over them few months, I felt that anger go a little bit, and I realised that I really needed to speak to someone. And they recommended that I should sign up to a therapeutic prison. It's a unique prison in Aylesbury. It holds some of the most heinous criminals in England. Child killers, rapists, pedophiles, your token recidivist, and your armed robber, and that would be me. Most of them are wife killers and all that, and child killers. And I
bet you had some fucking weird conversations up there.
I did. I'm not going to
lie. Or did you just go, I don't want to fucking talk to you, I'm going to go and sit up on my own?
Do you know what? This is one of those places that when you go in there, you sign a compact, you can't hit anyone. And the whole thing is to be honest. It's about being honest. So you have to tell him, as soon as you meet someone, say, I'm Tony, I'm a rapist. I'm Tel, I'm an armed robber. I'm Neil, and I killed my whole family. And you think, fucking hell, you think, fuck me.
What fucking...
It was crazy, honest.
So it's like AA, you all sit around the thing.
But it's 228 of the worst criminals in England, I'm not going to lie. We're all in this prison. On each wing, there's 40 guys. There was no child offenders on our side because I don't think I could have handled that. Within 7 days of me being there, one of them got killed. So good luck to him. But I got through the induction process, which takes 3 months, and it shows if you've got the aptitude to listen and change and everything else. Out of the 40 guys that was on my wing at that time, only 3 of us got through. So you've got to have a certain bit of aptitude to actually get on there. I then got on a wing, and I started doing therapy with 10 other guys. I think it was 8 to 10 other guys I was with. And what is, you go in that group and they start talking, and they start telling you what they're in for. I was there for 2 seconds, and some guy telling me he killed a little kid. The worst one was I was only there about a month, and this guy came in. He was going through a divorce with his wife, and he decided to kill himself. He started drinking about 1 o'clock in the morning and taking pills. So he took a pill and then a drink. And about 1 o'clock, 1:30, his daughter came down. She's only 6 years old. He had 2 daughters, one 10, one 6. The little girl came down and she said, Daddy, why are you crying? He's upset. He said, I'm going to heaven. I want to go to heaven. And she said, can I come to heaven? And he said, yes. So what he did, he started giving her a drink and a pill. So he played this little game for an hour or so, he said. And then she passed out, but she wasn't dead. And he said I had to go to the kitchen cupboard and take out a bag and put it over her head. And she started scratching and screaming and everything, and then she died. With her screaming and then coming to for them few seconds, her other sister woke up and came running down, but she was dead. Then and then the mother came down and grabbed hold of her kid and ran out of the house. And I was listening to this, and I just couldn't. That was the first time I really wanted to kill somebody.
I would have been.
Yeah, I really wanted to hurt him because I got 3 girls.
It's just such a fucked up thing to even.
Do you know what I did say? I spoke to him and I said, I've got 3 little girls, and I said they've got no comprehension about dying. They still believe in fucking Santa Claus, and you took this girl at her word and killed her, you scumbag, and you couldn't even do it on your own. You had to take her with you. So I was listening to these people, and I was there.
That's a horrific story.
It was, and that was the start of it. There was, I got in, and I was asked to do carol singing to sort of bring myself out of my shell.
You didn't have to wear one of the little cardboard outfits.
I did, yeah. I did. You know what I mean?
I paid money. You got to send me the picture.
I had to do it a cappella. Yeah. So yeah, it was a truly fucking horrific gaff. But I can remember, the few incidents that I did that were quite memorable, I suppose. It was. I was doing carol singing, and none of the guys would talk to this old guy he was about 60 years old. And I said, "What's the problem with this guy?" And he said, "What he'd done? He'd got out of prison, and his sister said, 'Look after the baby,' and the baby started crying. So he put the kid in a fucking pillowcase and whacked her head off the side and killed the kid. And there he was. But what happened? He then got out of prison after being certified insane from these places they go in, and then he went home and killed his sister and got another 15 fucking years.
I mean, you can't make it up.
You couldn't make it up.
It's like, how the fuck, if somebody does that to a fucking baby,
yeah,
how can you then go, yeah, there's a certificate, you're okay now? I mean, it's just fucking insane. I mean, I'm laughing about the insanity that somebody actually, and whoever ticked that box and said he's okay to go home, they should be fucking
well, they don't
put
now.
inside.
You know, this is the funny thing now, that through the whole of therapy now, they don't ever tick you off no more. It's all work. It's all continuation of in there. But I spent a lot, 2.5 years there listening to this and the therapy. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my ego, about embarrassment, about shame, about boredom. I learned how to deal with all that. I don't drink, I don't smoke no more, I don't do nothing, thanks to this therapy. As much as it was a double-edged sword, I had to mix with these people who were scum of the earth as far as I was concerned. I learned so much. I learned how to tolerate people. I learned how to not act on my impulse, because my first impulse was to kill them, you know. So I had to sort of internalize everything.
I could just imagine the therapist goes to you, Terry, how you feeling? I just fucking kill everyone in here.
No.
There's 228 inmates, including me, but I want to kill 227 of them.
Well, this is what made me start writing. So I say like it's a really good place because I learned a lot about myself. But what he did, he gave me a pad, and I had to write about my thoughts and feelings. And the vitriol that came out of it about killing these people was crazy. I wrote this down, and I got so fixated on just getting my thoughts and feelings out that unbeknown to me, all the frustration I had over all my years of being beaten in homes and, you know, caring and everything else came out as well.
Wow.
So where I was really angry and I was really fucking uptight all the time, and I was really aggressive, I found it all going. So it was, you know, thanks to therapy and thanks to being around these people, I learned tolerance, I learned understanding, I learned so much about myself. It actually made me a better person.
You would never have thought that. Like, if someone said to you, look, Tel, you're going to go and do this, and this, you'd be like, no, mate, leave me out. You just wouldn't have had it. So the fact you were forced to do it, and that even though you went through that and you had to deal with those fucking terrible people, or be in the same space as them, something good has come out of it.
Yeah. You know, as I said, I learned to write. I actually wrote a book about my stay there. It's called Living Amongst the Beasts. It got banned from inside prison, then they let it back in again. But it's done really well. They want to do a series about it. I've been approached a few times. My head's just not ready for it, because if you read the book, you're you know, for me, it's a bittersweet book, because there were parts of me that really, really hated the fact that these people were going to therapy and they were learning skills that would make them more proficient predators. So there was a part of me that really hated the fact that they were pulling the walls over the eyes of everybody. But there's also a part of therapy that worked for me. Yeah. So I could only write the truth. So I had to write a book that was balanced and honest. But I wrote about my story, not theirs. I couldn't let their therapy and their scummy fucking acts of violence and debauchery and whatever on kids and everything else affect my therapy. You know, so I had to just, you know, I had to put them over there and just concentrate on therapy. And I learned so, and I can't reiterate enough how much that whole experience changed my life. You know, which is a really good experience. So I wrote a book, and then I wrote another book called The Final Countdown to My Freedom, going back into, because what I did, I left that place, I went back into the system. Yeah. And what I did, I saw everyone's behaviour. So I saw me in a million times over, about the reinforcement, about the insecurities, everything. I started seeing everyone for what they were, and it changed me. You know, prison is not a place where you get rehabilitated. It can't possibly work on so many levels because of the people in there, because of the conditions, because there's a lot of people with mental health problems, but it's not conducive to anyone's mental health prison, period, or changing. However, being in that fucking nut ass and being surrounded by all these people completely changed my life. So there's a part of me that says prison doesn't work. There's a part of me that has to say, well, that did. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Maybe they shouldn't put people in prison. Maybe they need to put them in therapy.
You know what is see, in this country, we only help people once they committed a crime. You know, and they'd rather spend 40,000 quid on you all year locking you up than 40,000 quid trying to help you. And that's the problem. And it would never change. You know,
well, that's a lot of money, isn't it? And if you think about it, that if you could put that money to better use.
Yeah, prisons really it's a massive it's a massive money making machine. And you know what? You know, if you look at the ideology behind it and everything else, if it actually worked, you know, there'd be so many people that fucking work. You'll have judges, solicitors, barristers, you'll have police, you'll have all the prison service, you'll have all the people that run that, you know, the healthcare departments, everything else. There'd be so many people who would be unemployed, and we're talking hundreds of thousands. And when you consider that only 86,000 prisoners are in there at any one time, and they class, you know, there is a revolving door of recidivism as far as low-level criminality is concerned. But they sort of perpetuate it in such a way that they don't want you to change. You know, they just don't want you to change because they need that revolving door. Yeah, you know, because it, you know, in other countries they've introduced a rehabilitation systems where they educate you, they set you up with a trade, and they set you up with somewhere to live. In this country, you get nothing. You know, you get a basic English level 1 or 2. You know, you do so many courses inside prison that are not fit for purpose, and it's been proven time and time again. And they've got a healthcare system inside prison that gives out drugs like confetti because it's privatised, because they get paid on giving out so many prescriptions. So now you've got a whole prison system now just going up there taking drugs. I remember when I first went to prison, you're lucky if you had 10 or 15 people go out there through the whole course of a day. Since they privatised it and they're giving out prescription drugs, you're lucky that queue doesn't go down all day. You know, you've got hundreds and hundreds of guys. So, you know, it's a big money-making machine, and you could go over it and over it a million times and you're not going to come anywhere near changing it. They just don't want it to change.
What's the sort of, when you was in jail, what's the worst sort of violence you saw when you was in jail?
I've seen people getting jugged with water, with sugar in hot water. I've seen that. I've seen, you know, people crying their fucking eyes out over that. I've seen one guy get oiled from the kitchen. That was quite painful looking, and the screams that he made, you know, were fucking, you know, it's crazy. You know, I've seen one guy cut with his balls and chuck it at a screw. I've seen the screw get his throat cut.
He cut.
Yeah.
He cut one of his balls off.
Yeah, he cut his balls off
and threw it at the screw.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
You know what? You know, as you know, it is quite funny. It's unfortunately, in 1975, I think it was, they sort of they brought a thing in all across Europe. It's called care in the community. So what they did, they shut down all the nut houses, and then what they did, they let them live in the community. But you know, they started stabbing people in the eye on fucking trains, you know, on train platforms, pushing people in under cars and fucking trains. So what they then did, they then criminalised them all, and then they put them in prison. So now you've got a massive influx of people with mental disorders inside prison that don't give a fuck. So you've got criminals, you've got low-level criminals, you've got proper criminals, and then you've got wings and wings lent over to drug addicts and people who are completely fucking insane. And because they're not getting the proper care, and also the people who are tasked with looking after them ain't properly trained. So that's why the prison system at the moment is imploded. There's chaos and everything else. You know, they will tell you that it's running beautifully, but you know, thank God for mobile phones. Over the last 10 years, you can actually see, if you go on any platform, you can see the idleness, the violence. It's all videotaped now. It's all camera. It's all on video, so you can see it. So you got the criminal justice system saying, yeah, all these guys are going in, they're changing. Their idea of a successful rehabilitated guy is that he doesn't reoffend within 2 years. You know, and most people will reoffend within 2 years. I think 50% and 75% are reoffend within 5 years. And we class it as success in this country. So that tells you that it doesn't work. But unfortunately, it's not going to change. But you know, it just won't change. And I know what I changed, and I know lots of geezers that have, because you have to have the desire to change. You really got to want to do it. And I was really lucky. All that medicine came to me at the same right time. I went to Grendon, and I found myself. You know, I packed up drinking, smoking, and all that. I then saw everything for what it was. Believe it or not, I became a born again Christian. You know, through my own thing, not because anyone else wanted to do it. I had a moment in now, and that all them things that came into place at the right time in my life. Also, I didn't want to embarrass my family when I got out by getting nicked again at fucking 50 years old. You know, so I think that came together. I don't honestly believe that I've been rehabilitated. I just honestly believe that my circumstances have changed.
Got it.
And why I'm working with my daughter and her boyfriend in our business. I've changed my circumstances.
So you come out of jail. How old was you then?
I think I was about 52, 53.
What was your and how many books did you write when you was inside?
I wrote Living Amongst the Beasts, and I published it when I came out. And I went on to write The Final Countdown to My Freedom about the last year in the DCAT. Basically, I saw so many people going through the system who had got right to the end, and where they were promised somewhere to live, hostel or some housing, they were let down. You know, I just try and explain to you how it works, right? If a guy who comes to the end of his sentence has got about 6 or 7 weeks of goodwill that he wants to change, he's been in prison for a long time and he's promised all his family he's going to change. Yeah. All he wants to do really is come out of there and have a roof over his head, somewhere to go to work, you know, and so he can come home and shut the door. Bit of peace of mind, bit of security. Unfortunately, the way the prison's designed, it sets you up to fail because there's no housing. They confiscate your house, right? They confiscated my house, yeah? They confiscate everything. And then when you get to the end, they say, right, when you leave it, you're going to go to a hostel. And you say, all right, fair enough, I'll do that. And then I'll get a job, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, yeah, that'll work. You know, I'll do it. But when I got to the end of it, they never had no hostel. They never had no accommodation. So they basically said, like, you know, what we want you to do is go out and we want you to get a park bench or whatever it is and send us the postcode. That was their thing. So, and then how it works is that when you leave prison, you get, see, statistically inside prison, it works. Prison has got a 93% success rate of housing its offenders. And the reason that works is because they manipulate all the figures and this is how they do it. When you leave, you get a travel warrant. And to get that travel warrant, you've got to give a postcode and an address. Otherwise, you won't get that money. Right. So you can't go back to wherever you live. So most guys would sign it. So that's classed as a successful rehousing. Right. So on the morning that you leave, if you don't do that, which I never, I said, bollocks, see, I don't need that money. On the morning that you leave, you go in there at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. You got all your gear. You've been away for 10 years or 8 years or whatever. And you're chumping at the bit to go home. And all of a sudden they say, where are you going to? So I've got no fixed abode. They say, well, we haven't got anything set up for that. And then you say, well, I'm going out with no fucking fixed abode, down to you lot. Because I've been trying to get somewhere, but you stopped me from going outside to work. You stopped me from sorting this out, and you said that you was going to get me a gaff. And they said, well, we haven't got a procedure set up for that. But if you want to leave now, give us a postcode or an address, and we'll let you go. I said, f*** off. They said, if you don't give us a postcode or an address, you've got to stay here till 5 or 6 o'clock tonight until we get someone down from the Home Office to actually come in here and let you out. Wow. So most guys would go, f*** it, you know, sign. You know, so what I did, I preempted this because I knew so many. I arranged for a tent to be delivered. So I had a tent delivered and I put it on the fucking lawn there at Spring Hill. I undone it at the front, I got the pictures and everything. And I'd done it and I sat there next thing, they'll be all turned up. So f*** off. So I then slipped back to Hampstead. But yeah, it was like, you know, but, you know, even though I laugh and everything else, you know, there are so many guys leaving prison that haven't got the same support network as me. I'm pretty, I've got a pretty good support network, but there's so many guys that go back and back again because they've got no one. They get promised rehabilitation and they get fucked over. You know, part of it is their own fault. A part of it is they can't change because it ain't the government's complete fault. You know, but I think they play a big part in their revolving door.
So what did you do when you actually got home? What was did you go out and party or no. You just want to see the kids and the missus? And
yeah, I packed up drinking, I packed up smoking, and I packed up womanising. I mean, I done a deal with God, and I got baptised when I was in prison. And the deal was I'm not a religious person. I don't even read the Bible. I have a faith in me, and I have a faith in God, and I have a faith in something now. And the deal was come to me and let me do the rest. But the deal was if I get baptised, then I start my new life as someone who's going to lead a straight life and not lead that same life. So I came out, and my biggest thing was not going to have a drink again, because I love the drink and I love the birds and I love a bit of Charlie. I loved everything. And that first couple of weeks was really hard, but as it went on, it got easier. And I thought, you know, I cracked it now, because a couple of times I did come out of prison, I went at partying and I was bang on it, and then the next day I was doing other bits of graft. You know, so nothing changes.
So you get sucked back into the life.
You get sucked in with the people. You know, I had mates of mine coming around saying, like, well, I've got a bit of graft, I've got a bit of gear, You can have this, you can earn £1,000 every other day if you want. I said, no, I don't want it. I don't want to get back into that life. Fuck off and leave me alone for a little while. Let me get back into this life. So I left the doors open. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. I said, give me a few months and let me see how it pans out. And for the first few months, it was hard. I had to go and see a probation every fucking week. I went to sign on and they'd never give me no money. And I thought, I had my own houses. I had lots of money. Don't get me wrong, when I came out, I had people dropping me 10 grand and 5 grand and everything. So I did have money, but I tried to do it their way, because the money I had, I put it aside. But I tried to do it their way, and I went to sign on, and they never gave me they wouldn't give me nothing. I went to the housing and said to the council, I had my own houses, they've been confiscated. I've lived in Camden town all my life. And they said, by going to prison, I intentionally made myself homeless. So because of that, I've got to prove that I have lived in Camden for 5 years, and it'll probably take me another 15 or 20 years to get an accommodation. But because I'm a healthy young man or old man, I've got no fucking chance. So that's where I was at. That's where I was up against. But everyone that comes out of prison is in the same boat. Right. So it's not a good place to be. I could sit here all fucking day and say how much help they all need.
Someone sat down here now and said, "Tell, I've invented time travel. Right, you can jump in this fucking machine, we can go back. Right, would you change anything?"
No. You know what? It's one thing I change is maybe not getting caught. Right.
Thing is though, you don't know how you got caught, do you? So that's the problem. It's how do you not get caught?
Do you know what? If there was a time and a date when I got nicked, I'll make sure I'm not there that time next time. Yeah. But you know what? I don't know really. You know what? If I never lived the life that I lived, I've never had the kids that I've had, because my kids are off. I've got 3 girls off one girl, and another boy off another boy. So I never met them. And it's only because of my lifestyle I met them. I've never written the books unless I had the life experiences that I've had.
Got it. So it's all connected.
And I never became a Christian again. So I've never done Banged Up. I've never done.
And how did that come about? Because that was a great show. I mean, I watched that and I thought it was good fun.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was. I done a thing called Kids and Cons a year ago. And I was talking to a load of young kids, and they come out. I think it was me and Kevin Lane, and Offord. It was in there, the black guy.
Yeah.
And we was all there, and what happens? We went down this little pit, and these kids would come out one at a time. One of them would be cheeky, but they'd ask you relevant questions about life as a criminal, and it was up to me then to persuade them not to try and aspire to my life and end up getting fucking 20 years. But it's also about explaining to them about prison and about the violence. It's not all PlayStations. It's not all being around your mates, because 23 hours a day you're banged up on your own. You're isolated. You're away from your family. A lot of guys can't handle it. They have mental issues.
What did you think of the celebrities that were in Banged Up? Was there any of them that you got on with, or did you?
I hated all of them.
Right.
No. Do you know what? I think
I loved it when Sid Owen came on. Everyone was Ricky, didn't want they?
Ricky was quite scared, to be honest. You know what? I'll be perfectly honest. I would give you an analysis of all of them. Right? I found every single one of them really great. I think every one of them coped really well. I think when Sid came in, he got a bit of stick. He was scared, but his journey was not about the others. Like the others' journey. His brothers and dad was in prison.
He said that.
So he wanted to experience that thing and find out what their life was like. So we gave him a taste of it. He was scared. He was really scared. And so we made him scared. We made him feel threatened, because as far as them celebrities were concerned, that prison was a real prison. That whole prison, we was actually real prison inmates, and they were coming into this environment, but they would be looked after through the cameras. But for all intents and purposes, we were real prisoners. So they never knew. So they came in and their backs were up against the wall. They were scared. But I think all in all, I think their experience was one of growth. I think they learned a hell of a lot. I think their perception of prison and prisoners changed. And I just run for I think Sid learned a great deal. Marcus Luther, who's in Gogglebox, he came in and he said, "I'm the light and you're the darkness." So we said, okay, fair enough. We'll teach him a lesson. So what we did, we deliberately set up a situation where we put him under pressure, and said, like, who the fuck are you? He said that he deals with young youth, and this is how they act when they come out of prison. They're like this, and they're all like that, and they're fucking about in prison. So we thought, that is prison. when you go into prison, you have a perception of what it is and you have an idea of who you are, but you only survive if you're one of the boys. So, you know, and you have to be, you know, you've got no other avenue apart from being in it. So what we did, we put him under pressure, and then as he was under that pressure and not thinking properly, we give him some hooch. He got pissed. And then we gave him a telephone. So he was using the phone. So in a matter of a couple of days, without any violence or anything, he was drinking, smoking, fucking everything, using phones. So then I had a conversation and said, like, you know, like, you've broken every single rule in a couple of days. You've only been there a couple of days, but you've broken every rule. You can imagine being in this environment and it was real, and there was a real threat of violence, and there was intimidation and everything, and you were going to get really beaten up. You never got nothing done to you, but you broke every fucking rule. But you can't but get involved in it. I go to prison, and I don't. Anyway, let me get back. So he was a really nice guy. I loved him, and he learned after a few days that we were just like him. We're all normal. We just do bad things, but we all try and survive in prison. Neil Parish, the MP, who got done for the pawn gate, tractor gate. He said he was looking at a tractor, and it was.
That's the worst fucking excuse ever.
Do you know what?
Come on, mate.
You know what? Have you ever been in a tractor?
No.
You know. Anyway,
tractor gate.
He was. You know what? You know, I'm not a Tory supporter, and I've had no love for them over the years because of the shit that they bring into prison and try and implement. But you know, but I loved him. He was a great guy.
He seemed funny on the show. Like,
he was actually, he was brilliant. He had a great sense of humour. I made him cry because I spoke to him about his wife and how she felt about him, and how it must have affected her, and he broke down in tears. So you know, he was quite a compassionate guy, quite understanding, and I loved him to death. He was so good. Not so much John Mercer. I never really had a lot to do with him. Harvey was really good. Tom was fantastic. You know, he was a great comedian. Tom Rosenberg, was it Rosenberg? Yeah, Tom was Rose. Yeah, Rose. He was really good, quite funny. And who else? Oh, Peter Hitchens, the political columnist.
Very serious.
Oh yeah, it's very posh. You know what? Out of all of them, I thought he was going to be the one that we were going to fucking hate. But you know what? He after a few days, they edit in such a way that it looked like people were calling him a bacon and all that. But that's editing for you. But there were some really good conversations with him and Tom.
Yeah.
And he actually gave Tom his Bible, and Tom really loved him. He's like, they really got on like an house on fire. And I think towards the end, his whole perception of rehabilitation and the criminal justice system and the way it works was turned on his head. He wrote some really good articles afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I read his stuff. And
yeah.
I've never met him, but I thought it was funny seeing him on that show in that environment. It was funny.
You know what? He was really good. They was all really good. I think we had a really great time. I think we probably put the criminal justice system back 100 years. But as I said, like, you know, the whole idea was to fit something into 10 days, give them an experience, but also show everybody that sort of intimidation and violence does go on. Well, there was no violence, but there was intimidation. But it does go on a daily basis, but not as frequent as that. You know, there are people like me would step in and go, listen, leave them alone. You know. There are moments of hijinks where people are chucking food about, chucking things about, and there's always shit going on a wing. You know, I never lived my life through the prison system. I listen to a lot of guys, and I don't decry them, but they've been inside for so long. Their only life experience is prison. Their only moments of sheer happiness and joy is talking about prison. You know, and the great times we had in there. Remember that fight? Remember that drink? Remember that?
They kind of become institutionalised, don't they?
Yeah. So I was never that way. You know, for me it was about going to prison and really just getting through it. You know, just like putting my alls in, having my phone, having my luxuries, having my radio or whatever, but living the life that I would normally live outside, which was comfortable and away from all the drama. So you know, I would watch TV, I would read, I'd go to the library. I had a certain clique around me that if anyone fucked with us, we would deal with them. But these guys were you know, we know about, you know, there's violence and there's violence. There's getting a whack on the jaw, you know, or there's getting a poke in the eye and ripping your fucking eye out. You know, if you knew that if you come near me, I'm going to rip your eye out or rip your throat out, you're less likely to come to me ever again. So, you know, there was people that were prepared to fight every day and be and there were people that wanted to do their bird and just take it easy. But you needed to know where we stood if you come with us. So there was a group of us and we just conducted ourselves in a way that that was like we would outside. You know, they drank at weekends, they went out on the piss, they had their drugs. Right. You know, nothing changed in prison apart from we couldn't go out. But everything other than that was completely normal to outside. But we just lived a completely normal. And I hated prison. I thought it was violent, vicious, fucking cold. I hated the staff. I met some really good ones though, to be honest. It was just a fucking den of inequity, and I thoroughly hated every second of it. And anyone that I speak to that glamorizes it and says how great it was and how many parties they had, it really fucking frustrates me, because I know how many nights I sat in that cell. You know, I could probably tell you every single day, and how lonely I felt away from my kids and my family, and how isolated I felt, and how it fucking nearly killed me. You know, like, you know, there are moments in a prison sentence where your head just fucking wobbles. You know, you're on your own. You know, and all of a sudden you wake up this Christmas Day, or you know, the day of your kid's birthday, or someone had just died, and you think, fucking hell, is this ever going to end? You know what I mean? You know, and then you sort of justify, you know, your whole life by the fact that someone's doing 20 years and you're only doing 17. Or you're doing a life, ain't never going to get out. So you sort of justify that, and it sort of helps you get through it. And then all of a sudden you come to the end of it, and you can't wait. But I got no good memories of prison. I think if I had to mention one person's name, which I never do, that I thoroughly enjoyed meeting, was Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah, he's meant to be funny.
Man, he was the funniest guy I've ever met. I used to run with him every day. We used to run round. He was the fittest guy I met. I met some really good guys in prison. Unfortunately, I can't tell you their names because I don't want to bring their family into it or anything. But I've met some really good guys. But Ronnie always stands out because I was in the swell side of him. He's shout down, Terence, you know, do you want some breakfast? He'd bring marmalade, and he'd go back, and I'd go and I'd come back from the gym or come back from work or whatever, and he'd go, what the fuck are you doing? He said, you're not eating that shit. And he'd come out with a big dinner. He'd go, you know, come over here. and he'd make us dinner. So, but what we had on our wing, we had so many different nationalities. So we had Chinese, we had Malaysian, and we had him. So we had a food boat because we could cook. So every night for the week, we were living like kings. We had like chicken breasts and fucking marinated. Everything was like not prison. So you go on a wing where you have one bit of chicken, you have your bit of peas, your bit of mash, your couple of slices of bread, and it's just like mundane. And all of a sudden I'm in here with him, and he's living like Charlie Potatoes, and he's got everything. I can always remember going into his cell, and it was like a fucking Aladdin's cave. You know, Cokes, drinks, everything, shampoos, deodorants. He set me up with fucking carrier bags worth of gear as soon as I walked in there, and I respect him so much. You know, I know that he's like Marmite. You know, he's either love him or hate him, but I thoroughly love that guy.
I've met him, but I've heard good things about him.
Not really lovely guy, and he's the only guy I've mentioned. But I've met some other guys that who in, who've been away over the years, and I know them all, and I've met some really good guys.
So obviously you've done Banged Up, you've done your books. What's next?
Well, when I came out, I couldn't get a job. I applied for a few bank jobs and security guard jobs. But I couldn't get a job.
The banks didn't want to employ you?
They wouldn't employ me. You know, I could have probably helped them so much.
Put you in the fucking...
We know what I could have helped them with the security section. I applied for a number of jobs, and unfortunately, because of my resume, or batata, whatever they call it now, it just wasn't geared up for me getting a job. So I applied for 3 or 4 jobs, and it just came back no. And the other issue, the elephant in the room, was the last few weeks.
Right. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, go on. You know, there's been a real highs with watching Banged Up, but in the same time I was watching that, I was going for a checkup. So last year I went for a checkup for colon cancer. I had all the symptoms. I went through a few months of hell mentally, but I was lucky I came through it and with no cancer. All the symptoms and none of the cancer. And then as I finished that, my dad came down to me. He said, I think you need to get a PSA test. I said, why? He said, because my brother died of it, and also your uncle died of it, and I had prostate cancer. So I said, all right, I'll do it. I'll go and get one. So I went and got a test, and it was high. And then I went and
How do they do the test? Is it like an injection?
no, what happens? You first go down. They do an internal. It's you know what? It's not even embarrassing because as you and a doctor, they do that, and then they do blood tests, and then it came back high, and then I had to go to the hospital. That was quite embarrassing because I think there was 5 people in there then, and I had to go in stirrups. So me and my girlfriend went down there, and she waited outside, and they said they'd found a lesion. So first of all, I had to go on an MRI. So they found a lesion. They said go back in, and then I had to go to the neurology department, and they took 25 biopsies, and that came back as cancer, I'm afraid. Yeah. So that was on. I was actually driving home last Thursday, and they phoned me up and said, "Can you pull over? We got some news for you." And then they said, you've got prostate cancer, and it's on both sides. Unfortunately, the one you've got is the one that's got a tendency to spread to the bones. So I've now got to go back into a hospital next Friday to make sure it's not spread to the bones, because if it has, it's only like a 3-year lifespan or expectancy on it. So that's where I am at the moment. My mate got diagnosed last year. He got bone cancer. He's been given 3 years to live. So he's a really lovely guy, and the way he handles it, I can't start fucking moaning and crying, because I see him I speak to him all the time. I see him, and every time he's a Jamaican guy. I've known him for 30 odd years, and we do WhatsApp, and he's always laughing. He's always cooking, fish and yams and everything that he does. So when I see him and how well he's coped, I can't really harp on the fact that I haven't got bone disease or cancer yet. I may have, but I've also got to go through the treatment of with a prostate. So whether I have it out or I'm gonna have to have chemotherapy for a few months. So I reckon 6 months. But you know what? I'm actually writing a book about it. I was actually writing a book about colon cancer, and I just finished it, and then this came up, and I wanted to show people that if I could go through that process of having a colonoscopy, camera up my backside for 45 minutes, and going through all that, and then telling that it was actually worth it, because the peace of mind I had afterwards was.
Well, I think it's really good that you've shared. Is this public knowledge or not?
No, you're the first person I've actually told. Wow. I don't know why, but
I reckon it's because we've both got the same haircut.
Well, I think we both look alike. But as much as I feel that it's going to be a little bit debilitating for me. I still feel like I'm pretty optimistic that it won't be bone cancer.
I think from people that I know, you should definitely try some of the alternative therapies.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of numbers I'll give you as well for people that I know who've actually had issues, and they've actually had this as well as the other stuff. So obviously you should still do the visual stuff, but if anything you can do to help it. But I think all the people I know who've had cancer, and I'm not just talking about prostate, I'm talking about any cancer, they've always said, obviously you have to be positive, no sugar, no alcohol, no smoking, lots of vegetables, healthy eating stuff. And that all helps with the journey, you know. So,
you know what? I will attack this like I live my life. I do it head on, and I'm not going to bury my head. Right. I'm going to do it. I
also think this is really important for everyone listening to this podcast or watching it, because there'll be 97% of our audience are men.
Yeah.
25 to 50, right? That's the majority of the audience on this podcast.
That's the age.
So for them watching this, get a checkup, boys.
I think that's the age, because I never had no symptoms. I never had nothing.
Right.
There was not one symptom. I'm hoping I've caught it early. I've definitely got cancer. I've definitely got prostate cancer. I've been told it's on both sides. But the next process is to see if it's gone to the bones. I feel a few aches in my bones and everything else. So there's a part of me that's dreading it. There's a part of me that's fearful of it. It's cold. It's fucking horrible. It's frightening. And it's not a fucking good place to be. But there's also a part of me that says, you know what, I can beat this. I've got a really good faith in God. I know that I've got faith on my side. I've got God on my side. I've got a lot of Christian brothers that are praying for me that I've spoken to as well. I've got a really good support network of that. One guy who, Michael Emmett, he's going through the same thing with cancer. You know, I know that Chris Lambiano went through it as well years ago. Yeah. You know, these are all good Christian guys. They've all come through it, and they're all battling their own ways at the moment. I know that I've got a really good faith, but whatever happens, you know, it's not.
Chris still in Bournemouth?
Chris is in Oxford.
Oh, was he? He used to be in Bournemouth, didn't he?
I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. No, he's in Oxford.
That's Tony's brother, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure I met him in Bournemouth.
He might be down. I don't know if you know Dodge Woodell.
Yeah.
Dodge's a really nice guy. Yeah, you know, it's every day is different. You know, but you know the one thing I've got a lovely home. You know, as I said, I live in Amsterdam. I've got my dogs. You know, I love my dogs. Even before I came down here today, I was on the city with my Christmas tree, my fireplace. Everything's all really lovely in there. It's got loads of colour. It's vibrant. I've got a beautiful girlfriend. She's a teacher. You know, she works in a local school. And I got my daughters, and I got all my family. So you know what? And I've had a fucking really good life. Right. You know, and I will beat this, and I will. And try my best. You know, we unfortunately we had a loss a few weeks ago with Dave Courtney. I know that he had prostate cancer. You know,
did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dave had prostate cancer, and I was, you know, and he had also arthritis and everything else. He was going through a lot of pain. I think it's how you live with it or how you treat it determines the outcome. So I'm gonna live a healthy, good life, and I'm gonna try my best.
You've got one more person praying for you now.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it.
But Terry, honestly, mate, I really appreciate you being on. I think your story's been amazing from start to finish, and obviously writing these books, being on that show. Obviously, you've got this sort of slight bump in the road, but I'm sure you'll get through it. I'm sure you'll be. Do
you know we've
running the London Marathon next year?
Do you know what? I'm seriously thinking about doing it. But I've also got I'm making Verizon into a film. Right. I've been working with a film producer, Cy Biggs, for the last year. We just finished filming Angel of the North with Steve Collins and John Doddy.
I've seen it on social media.
Yeah, you know, I was actually a referee in that film. Right, I was actually going to play a policeman, but we changed it. Right. But that one's finished. Just
so you can play the coppers really well.
Oh, mate, I've had lots of practice, you know. So I'm hoping we're going to start filming this year. Well, next year, I mean, Verizon or the heist or whatever we're going to call it at the time. And I think we're going to have a ball doing it. And I'm going to try and get a cameo. Maybe maybe a security guard or a policeman. Maybe, you know, I mean, one of them that comes in at the end. But yeah, I'm really enjoying life. You know, so you know, even though I'm going through this,
there's a lot of positives.
There's so many positives. With the business is going really well. The family life's going well. I love my dogs. I love my home. There's so many pluses, and really, this is just a small negative, which will hopefully turn into a positive. I'm hoping by the middle of next year, we should have smashed it. We should have beat the fucking life out of it. You know, one way or the other. You know what I mean? So it'd be good. I know it's going to be good.
Terry, thank you so much.
Thank you, too. Cheers, brother.
Good to meet you.
And you, mate.
Thanks for tuning in to the Criminal Connection podcast. Terry Ellis, what an amazing guest, and what an amazing journey, what an amazing life. I hope you've been inspired by his story. I hope you go and buy his books. Look out for his movie Horizon. Hopefully it'll be being made next year. And make sure you get a checkup, boys. I know 97% of this show is watched by men. So, you know, don't get caught out. Make sure you get that checkup. And make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel. Tell all your friends about the Criminal Connection podcast. And I'll see you next week. We've got another amazing guest. Thanks for tuning in.